I don't know if you saw James Bow Disciples. He took that frontal on a Impala 29, 30 yards, and it string jumped and it became a headshot. Oh, dude, it went super viral, and it split the internet, like ethics and all that kind of stuff. I had some guys come in and saying it's bad for the industry and people have fought for our right to bow hunt and this stuff damages it. And on that very day, my exact words to like one of the biggest archery figures in South Africa, he was telling me this, and I literally said, I couldn't give a and I did that with my hands. It was the first time when I was just like, everyone, if you've got an opinion, off. that was genuinely my response. And it's just because every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks that his way is the righteous way. And even if you had to argue ethics, like you would have a view on ethics, I would have a view on ethics, Oscar would have a view on ethics. I think it's just so personal. And where do you draw the line between your opinion and what's actually ethical? I don't think there is one.
Welcome to Salt Lick Worldwide Podcast, your ultimate destination for hunting, fishing, conservation, and gear. From international hotspots to the backwoods of America, we bring you the real stories, raw opinions, and the conversations others won't have. Buckle up, the adventure starts now. Welcome back to the Salt Lick Worldwide Podcast, the only show where bow hunting meets blunt forced honesty, and apparently that's enough to get you damn near blacklisted from a country. No joke, I just barely made it out of South Africa in one piece. You call out a few bad apples, mention a helicopter pushing buffalo, and suddenly people start looking at you like you've just pissed on Nelson Mandela's statue. You'll have that. So yeah, shit got weird. I half expected to be escorted to the airport by FOSSA's executive committee riding Segways and camo Crocs. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is spiraling too. The internet, for example, is still arguing about whether aliens are real, and I'm like, have you seen the Hunt South Africa Facebook group? Yeah, you see what I did there. A woman tried to cook a chicken in a hotel coffee pot and called it clean eating. And people are paying $900 to stand in a parking lot of a Taylor Swift concert just to hear her echo off a stadium wall. While Travis Sloan is out in the African bush cooking zebra steaks over a fire he made with a stick and pure hatred. And people are watching AI influencers live stream from fake cabins in the woods while Travis is out there actually living it with blood, sweat, and a carbon arrow. Through the lungs of reality. That's right, today's guest isn't some dude flexing in front of a rented Land Rover, or cruiser for that matter. It's Travis fucking Sloan, the bow hunting bush savage behind Outdoors with Travis. This guy survived 48 hours alone in the African bush with nothing but a bow, a pair of dusty socks, then comes back to teach you how to tune your gear like a pro, and somehow still looks calm doing it. So if you're here for fake hunts, clickbait thumbnails, or watching some influencer whisper, let's freaking go. Sorry, I had to throw that in there, Oscar. Well, high-fiving a PH for something he didn't actually kill. Exit now. But if you want grit, skill, real hunting stories, and a guest who doesn't need a script to survive in the wild, stay right here. Travis Sloan is in the building. Let's go get some hunting truth. Travis, welcome to the Salt Lick Worldwide Podcast.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. It was a good intro.
Yeah. I managed to make it through there without cutting it up too bad.
That was
fantastic.
Smooth. One take.
Yeah. It's like it was one take. I hiccuped there. I'll have to do a different camera cut to get that one out there. But yeah, so Travis, we've been at this for a couple months now, trying to get Travis on the podcast. But between your hunting and all the hunting and fishing that we do, it's difficult. Especially the time difference. That's always a bitch when I'm trying to get somebody from Africa on. That 6 hour to 7 hour time difference can be a wretched pain in the ass. But man, we finally got you. We've been following you on your socials, and you're tearing it up. You're growing like crazy.
Thank you very much. I'm living the life, dude. I'm absolutely blessed to do this, I would say, hobby in a third world country as a living, and not PHing, which is from day one, I said I will never be a PH. I don't want to be away from home unless I'm physically hunting myself, and I've managed to do that. I'm just absolutely blessed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I actually watched one of your videos last night, and I don't know if it was in the description or the maybe in the opening, you made a statement about, I decided to do this and I didn't care whether it took 5 days or 5 years to get this thing to go. I'm going to stick with it and do it. And it didn't take you 5 years to kind of pop off, but man, you've been hard at it all the time.
Yeah, I get goosebumps because I actually feel a bit bad, especially recently. I haven't been putting a lot of focus into it. I've built a business on the back of my YouTube channel, which is just flourishing, and now I've neglected the YouTube channel. But I've got an incredible wife that keeps me accountable to the thing that's kind of granted the success that I've found. And so over the next couple of weeks, all I've been working on is building a backlog of content so I can just start delivering some kind of consistency. But yeah, dude, I think that was the Hoyt video where I got the Oryx 9 early, and it was exactly that. We So many YouTubers, especially the guys that have been on it long and do it as a career, have always said, if you go in expecting to make money out of it, you're going to make short term decisions that are going to hurt you long term. And so we just went in saying, I've got a great job that I absolutely hate. I must put it out there. Like it really was destroying my life. But I made sure that I was doing this thing on the side that one day could eventually supplement the money that I needed to take it full time. And that was June last year, dude.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to watch your growth, and it's good to see, real people do that, not fake influencers. And we talk about those people a lot. I mean, you're actually out there doing it. You're putting in the time. You're practicing. You're building these bows, and your content is cool because it's not just all about hunting. You spend a lot of time with tips and tricks and builds and stuff like that. And I think that gives you especially when you look at your YouTube page, it's really well rounded, and there's something for everybody in there.
Yeah, I must say, if I had a camera guy follow me around, we'd have about 30 arrow build videos a month. I I'm constantly tinkering, I'm constantly playing. I feel like what guys have done in our industry well, there's some big boys that have been in it long enough to have experienced a lot of different things so they can speak about them. But being in a third world country, my only way to expose myself to new ways, like arrow builds, we generally build heavier. You guys generally build lighter. Like the only way to actually come up with the data to give people the right advice is to actually get firsthand experience. I can't stand secondhand experience. Don't tell me what you went through. I'm going to go do it, and then I'll tell you what I went through and compare them. So even over the last like 8-9 weeks, I've tested 10 different mechanical broadheads with kill shots. I actually went out and hunted animals, walk and stalk, got all the footage, busy compiling that. Arrow builds from 580 grains down to 470 grains, seeing if I like the blend of speed and momentum versus weight and it's slightly slower, but then obviously when it makes impact, it just doesn't stop going. And like, rather than have an opinion based on science, I like to have an opinion based on my personal experiences. And something that I preach a lot, because I actually, you guys probably won't know, because I don't talk about it a lot, but I actually come from like a military bodyguarding kind of background, a big private security background. And even with firearms, I had the same approach. There isn't a one thing fits all. It's like these are your options and these are the results, and then you're going to pick what works for you. And so with archery, I think it's one big opinion. A dude kills and smokes bucks with 400 grain arrows, and he'll tell everyone that that is the arrow build you should go for. And you got someone like me, last 3 years, 580 grain arrow, killed absolutely everything I've shot at. I haven't had string jumping issues, nothing. And now I've just moved to 470 after 3 years, and I'm freaking loving that. So I really preach rather get out there and train versus getting stuck in the debates and the nit and gritties.
Yeah, and that's a great way to handle it too. When you're talking about string jumping, something just popped into mind. I did that saddleback blessed buck hunt this year,
Yeah.
spot and stalk with a bow.
Oh, beautiful.
A blessie's not normally one of those animals you expect to spring or to string jump. And I got within like 45 yards. I mean, broadside, lots of wind that day, which was great because the animal had no idea we were there. And sure as shit, he string jumped at 45 yards, and end up hitting him high back, just above lungs, and ended up having I was able to get on him and put another one in him. But man, and I'm shooting a pretty fast bow. I'm still on the Matthews, what is it, V333 or V3 VX33, whatever the hell that one is. I haven't upgraded to the lift.
V3X33.
Yes, that's the one. That's the bow guy. He knows. And I'm pulling like 72-ish pounds roughly. I think this year I took a 585 grain roughly arrow setup over
Like
there.
what, 240, 245?
245-ish, yeah, right in there. And I actually downsized from last year because last year we were doing dangerous game with bows, And I brought I think Staffin's was higher. Staffin's was like 700 grain, but I think mine was like 640, something like that, with single bevel fixed heads on everything. And it just, for me, it was just too slow. I just didn't like it. So I went back down, and it's still, from a whitetail perspective, to me, I'm used to shooting those light arrows, the 420s, the 440s, stuff like that. So that's still, it's a lot slower speeds than I'm used to seeing. But yeah, so I had a kind of a cluster and had to put another one in him, and ended up getting him down. But that's when I cut that video. That's the stuff that we show, though. So we show the hits, we show the misses, we show everything, and we've caught shit over that too. We've had lots of people say, "Hey, man, it's kind of bad for the industry if you do that." I'm like, how is that bad? I don't want to sell something to, our audience that's not true. This is real life hunting. This is the shit that happens. Bad shots happen, deflections happen. It's part of it. It's about staying in the game and following up. And that's what's the important part. And I think it's important to show that, or I'd be doing a disservice to everybody that tunes in and watches our shit.
Absolutely, you're going on the rant that I went on. So I don't know if you saw James Bow Disciples. He took that frontal on a Impala, 29, 30 yards, and it string jumped and it became a headshot.
I did not see
Do you
that.
know that?
Is that on your YouTube
Between
channel?
YouTube and it's on Instagram. But I
We're
mean,
definitely gonna have to watch that.
oh, dude, it went super viral and it split the internet, like ethics and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, first of all, I've been taking frontals on animals. I mean, Blessbuck, I took a 52-yard frontal, and all my other frontals on Impala over the last year have been over 30 yards. So it's not a question of ethics. It's a question of, are you comfortable taking that shot? And are you confident? And he took the shot. It happened to Stringer, and I'm like, if you're going to argue ethics, that thing died before it hit the ground. Like it went stiff before it even hit the ground. So would you want it to run and bleed out over 60 yards, or did you, And either way, it was dead, whether it's string jumped or not. But I had some guys come in and saying it's bad for the industry, and people have fought for our right to bow hunt, and this stuff damages it. And I just thought to myself, actually, I'm normally a very nice guy. A lot of my friends would say I'm a very nice guy. I tend to just, if I don't like you, I'll keep my opinions to myself and separate. And on that very day, my exact words to like one of the biggest archery figures in South Africa, he was telling me this, and I literally said, I couldn't give a and I did that with my hands. It was the first time when I was just like, everyone. If you've got an opinion, off. that was genuinely my response. And it's just because every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks that his way is the righteous way. And even if you had to argue ethics, like you would have a view on ethics, I would have a view on ethics, Oscar would have a view on ethics. I think it's just so personal. And where do you draw the line between your opinion and what's actually ethical? I don't think there is one. So just appreciate the shot, appreciate that the animal didn't suffer. And if you start playing the could-haves, I lost a red hot, and I didn't lose it. You saw in that video, I spined him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like 19 yards broadside. I've had an Impala, my very first Impala 6 years ago. Excuse you. Are you good? Did you shit your pants?
He gone.
I guess we're going to cut this out.
Oh, probably. Well, we'll just keep talking.
What happened?
I have no idea. I think he might have swallowed his dip.
But yeah, no, the argument that keeps coming up is ethics, especially with what we do and what we show, and we show the raw stuff, the stuff where we do injure and we do the bad shots, and and I think any bow hunter that hasn't injured, that hasn't lost an animal, that hasn't had a bad shot that had to do a follow-up shot, or hasn't had a bad shot that they've had to do 400 or 500 yards of tracking, probably hasn't hunted enough, because those things come with the territory. That's what
It happens. It happens all the time. I say that all the time. Just like that's that's real hunting. Like it happens. They're gonna jump the string on there. You're gonna place a bad shot or whatever. They're gonna take a step. When you let loose the arrow or the bullet and stuff like that. And same thing happened with me in my Impala hunt this year. On there, just gun like I pulled the shot and gun moved on the stick, and I spined an impala on there first 45 yards broadside, and I spined him and everything, and we had to finish him off with the pistol and all that stuff. But I'm just like, that's just what happens. That's hunting. Everyone here has had a bad shot.
It
That's
just
that's the real hunting of just like bad shots are gonna happen. They're just whatever is gonna, whether they jump the string, everything. It just that's just what happens. Unfortunately, we never
it's
want
all a
that to
part of it.
happen. But it's just a part of hunting. I want that animal to be as ethical as possible with my shot. But you know, once I draw back or pull, or shoot and everything, and it's gonna be what's gonna be. But that's a real hunt for me.
Yeah, and we just did a first there. I actually just puked on camera. So I've been battling a stomach bug for a few days, and maybe the beer wasn't such a great idea. But back to that. Sorry about that. Woo, that was rough. That's something we've not done yet.
That's real.
Yeah. You were talking about the full frontal shot. We caught
Yeah,
some
so
shit. Yeah, so we caught some shit last year as well. We did several bow hunts last year in South Africa. I don't know how many weeks we were there, 6 weeks, I guess. And our buddy Mike Staffen, who you may have seen on the show before, that guy is an archer. When I talk about us being able to bow hunt is one thing, but this guy, he'll back up and send it at 120 yards and hit religiously. He's the guy that, we shoot the center out of, one of those foam targets and then back up to 80 yards and put an apple in the middle. And he's the guy that drills it every single time. So he's comfortable at those ranges. I'm not. I'm a, 40, 45 yard guy, max kind of thing is where my comfort zone is. You make shots way longer than that. You'll stretch it out to 80, 90 yards, but Mike's one of those guys. So we did a black wildebeest hunt and a zebra hunt. It was actually happened the same day. He ended up shooting a black wildebeest. I think it was at 85 yards, quartering two.
nice.
But
Oh,
listen,
beautiful.
he absolutely drilled it, and people came out of the woodwork, and he did the same thing with the zebra. The zebra actually charged, and I'll overlay the footage. So he shot the zebra, it charged, and they stepped like 1 meter right, and the zebra piled up right in front of him. It was just like a cool thing that you couldn't have scripted any better. But we caught a ton of shit for that because, like, hey, that's not ethical. You're taking horrible shots. I'm like, listen, if you've seen this guy in the field, he can make that shot 99.9% of the time. That's not an ethical thing at that point in time. That's up to his skill level, and he's at a different level than Oscar and I, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not taking that shot, and there's a lot of people that won't take that shot, but then you've got people like you that are comfortable to 80, 90. You've got Josh Bomar out there flinging shit at 130, 140 yards, and Chris B doing the same thing. So these guys that do it all the time are very good. So our comfort level at 40 is your comfort level at 100. It's just what it is. It doesn't make it unethical. It's like saying, oh no, you can only shoot with a rifle a 300 Win Mag if it's within 150 yards. No, horseshit. That rifle was capable of doing way more than that. It's just the skill level of the shooter, at that point in time.
100%. And I'll give the guy that started that conversation with me about that headshot accidental, I'll give him credit where credit's due. He ended off with saying exactly what you just said. He said he's worried that I'm putting in young kids' minds that this is normal when they don't see that I'm on the range 4 days of the week, shooting on his range at 96 yards at like a 1 inch or 2 inch card and getting upset when I miss it by like a quarter inch. He says they don't see that. They just see the dude that makes those shots and thinks that's normal. So I was like, I get that, but it's not my responsibility either to take on a kid's or youngster or another man's judgment on what he's capable of when he's in the bush. And I think we give ourselves way too much credit. I think this is a partnership or relationship with the animal. I think 50% is on us and our capabilities, and 50% is up to Mother Nature and that animal. If it just happened to be twitchy at the time, if it happened to catch us just before we launched the arrow, if it almost got eaten by a leopard that morning and it's just on super high alert and just that arrow flight sends it off. Sometimes guys are successful at 70 yards and it never even string jumps. And sometimes it doesn't. And that can happen at 19 yards. My very first Impala, before you threw up on the show, I was going to say my very first Impala that I ever shot was out of a blind. It was my third animal I'd ever hunted with a bow. It was 19 yards or so, and I injured him and never recovered him. and he was perfectly broadside with a perfectly capable bow. So is that not an ethical shot? But he string jumped me, and now I never got him, and he died somewhere in the bush later. So, like, yeah, I think it's an endless argument, and it's completely up to opinion and data that you don't have access to, like the guy trains at long distances every day or something like that.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly where I am with people that do that. You get into it with long range shooting a little bit too. Go back to the rifle side for a minute. You get these people, and I see long range shooting's become a big thing lately, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. And we've done a lot of it. We did a lot of it this season. I mean, we're stretching it out to where we don't like to take shots. Not that let me rephrase. I like to try to get shots on camera that are at substantial distance, 700 and over kind of thing. But we're shooting with equipment that is more than capable of making that shot. And what people don't see is we're vetting these firearms, right? We've got the best optics. We spend time at the range. We're doing everything. We're doing load development. We're super precise on our wind calls. I mean, we've got ballistic data for every single round that we use in every single rifle, and we know how it's going to perform. So at that point in time, with all that practice, a 700-yard shot to me feels like a 100-yard shot for somebody else. I mean, it's really no big deal. I mean, when I walk up to, a shot like that, I just know that I'm going to make the shot. I did we just released a video on Facebook today, and a little short that we cut from it was a combination kudu and hog deer hunt. We actually started the day hunting hog deer in the East Cape free range. And happened the first Kopi we came up to and started glassing, I happened to look down by a river section and like, shit, there's a big kudu bull right there. So a hog deer hunt turned into a kudu bull hunt. Well, I had grabbed the 6.5 Creedmoor, the Sig Cross, because we were hunting hog deer, much smaller animal. But I felt totally comfortable taking the shot. I think the kudu finally settled at like 550. I had elevation on him. There was very little wind, made a perfect dial and made a perfect shot. The point behind that was, if you watch the video, the shot was absolutely perfect. He was slightly quartering away, tucked right in behind the shoulder. But for whatever reason, he did not go down. It was one of those shots where the camera crew, the PH, everybody, the trackers, everybody,
Like,
we're all
what the
high-fiving,
hell?
right? Yeah, well, no, I mean, the animal bucked and he went right and all the cows went left. And we're like, that animal's done right there. So we celebrated, right? Shaking hands and everybody's patting each other on the ass. We get there, there's no kudu bull. He's gone. So we start looking, can't find blood. And Hannes goes up to the adjoining Kopi just to kind of look over there. And sure enough, that kudu had kind of snuck around the backside and he was standing there, I don't know, 150 yards from him. But I was 500 or 600 yards away looking for blood. So I had to run back, get up the Kopi. By the time I got there, he was like at 450 or 500. Ended up, I put one in his neck. It's all he gave me. So I put one in his neck, and that also should have dumped him instantly. The son of a bitch kept going, and to make it worse, I freaking scoped myself when I did it because I'd already left, didn't have a rifle with me, grabbed the rifle, take the bipods off, had no sticks, no anything, trying to brace off against rocks, and scope the shit out of myself. 2 miles later, we finally got that animal. But when we got back to the skinning shed, and you could see it there as soon as we got to the animal recovery, there was 3 shots that should have ended him right that second. Got back to the skinning shed, skin it, filmed a bunch of the B-roll kind of stuff and talked about it. You couldn't have made 3 better shots. It's just the most unlucky thing that I've ever been a part of. And that rifle, I mean, how many kudu do you think that rifle's taken with that same load? A dozen now?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, so it's not a rifle thing, but that just goes to show you sometimes shit happens. Best
And
laid plans.
sometimes, again, we give ourselves too much credit. We argue we are only 50% of the equation, if not less. And with that red hartebeest in the same video, you said how I started it. That red hartebeest, the spine, obviously, it won't kill him; it'll just drop him. I placed the second shot, which was a 2.07, absolutely opened him up from the bottom. He should have just died there and then. 15 minutes later, he's still moving. It's just like sometimes you just meet something that's just absolutely resilient.
Well, and listen, African animals are tough. That's what I tell people before you bring a bow to Africa. African animals are tough. They're not your typical whitetail deer. You better come with a different mindset if you're going to hunt in that country.
Yeah. No, look, I would say, apart from archery being such a small community in Africa, if I wanted to build a career in archery, America would be the number one place. I think it's the largest archery hunting community in the world. But in terms of availability of hunting, with minimal oversight of government, 99.9% regulated privately, and the sheer amount of species we have, I think I hit the jackpot being born here.
I would say, I mean, that's one of the reason that keeps us coming back every year. We've got, I'll call it a handful of, species that we can hunt during our seasons. You've got white-tailed deer, you've got elk, you've got mule deer, you've got black bear. And then you've got some smaller stuff after that. I mean, yes, you can go to Canada and you can chase moose and you can chase grizzlies and stuff like that, but we don't have all those species that you do. So, and our seasons are very restricted here too. We don't have very long seasons. We have very specific regulations. I think some states still don't allow you to use a rifle. You have to use a shotgun, a slug gun, and
a week.
Yeah. And, bow season. And then that people get in the fights now because a lot of states have opened up crossbow hunting when bow season starts.
Bow season. Oh,
Right.
dude, I have a video that's gone viral on YouTube, which is literally just me shooting a raven. It's a short, shooting a raven at 80 yards into a golf tee. And it's got like 2.5 million views. And it's just like the comments are crazy. It's like it's not for men, and it shouldn't be included in bow season. It's absolute hate the whole way through.
So that's a perfect segue into this. I agree with you 100%. We have a farm in Kentucky. We've got another in Ohio. I own 2 ravens, and I don't use them myself. But when I have kids, when I have women, or maybe even somebody that doesn't bow hunt, I have no problem putting them with that thing. And yes, they're going to argue, well, it's like a rifle. Yeah. But if you want to make an ethical, I don't want to give somebody a compound bow and say, here, go out and fling an arrow. If you give them that raven,
just like put it on your nose and look through the peep, and then you should hit it at 15 yards versus put this dot on and you'll absolutely smoke it. And it operates just like a gun. Like, obvious.
And I used to be on the other side where I didn't think it was fair to let crossbow hunters come in at the same time as compound bow hunters. And I've switched my stance on that. I just think the more people we can get in the woods hunting, the better it is for the industry in general. And I'm not going to bash those people. You know what? If you want to go out with a crossbow and you're spending money and you're buying tags and you're participating, good on you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bash anybody anymore.
Look, it's obviously a very touchy subject, but the thing is, the ergonomics of a crossbow is definitely not the same as a rifle. It is much harder to walk and stalk with. I think in general, it's not. I think it's definitely built for like a tree stand, or a hide or something like that. And what I see is it takes someone that hasn't ever been involved in the hunting industry, and it's almost like the gateway drug into the industry, because why go buy a bow, suck at shooting, and think you hate it, when actually all you needed to do is maybe shoot a crossbow, realize that you love it, and then start transitioning into different disciplines. And I actually say this almost on every podcast. The biggest problem in the hunting industry is probably social media. It's a blessing and a curse, but everyone thinks their opinion is validated or valid. But the traditional bow hunter thinks he's better than the compound bow hunter, and the compound bow hunter thinks he's better than a crossbow. Crossbow still thinks he's better than a rifle, and then like maybe a black powder guy thinks he's better than all of them in the gun world. And it's just like, are you hunting to measure dicks? Are you hunting because you absolutely love this? Because if you love it, you're not bothered by what other tools people are using.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's a perfect way to explain it. No, that's perfect. You hit the nail on the head right there.
And it's just
100%.
like I hunt. And I always said it about guns as well. I've always been this way. I would prefer to see the thing be participated by multiple people, or as many people as possible, than measuring dicks and causing internal conflicts within one industry and all that kind of stuff. And essentially, especially newcomers that maybe join a Facebook group. I see you guys are at war at the moment, but like join a Facebook group or something, and it's just
call
just
Tuesday.
hate. It's just hate amongst hunters. And it's like, why would I want to do this or be involved in it? When actually, when things come like that, not an acre, this whole thing that you guys had to fight now, where public land was going to get sold, we as a community can only stand together when we have something in common and focus on those commonalities. And the one thing we all have in common is that we love putting our sight or scope or iron sights on a deer, an elk, a moose, or whatever it is. And that's our commonality. And then it's up to every Tom, Dick, and Harry to choose what tool he wants to do that. And so I don't get everyone's opinion, but again, social media has made everyone think that they've got an opinion.
Yeah. And I think the takeaway from that is the more people we can get involved in the sport, the better it is for all of us. You know,
It's
there's,
protected.
yeah, well, and there's such a threat from the left right now, from the greenies and everything else that is going on. The worst thing we can do is fight amongst ourselves, especially about shit like that. Instead of instead of fighting, let's encourage people to get them involved in the sport. And I think you're right. You said gateway, I'll say segue into crossbows give you the opportunity to hunt at a lesser skill level, but get you involved. And then once you've done that, I think a lot of people gravitate towards a compound bow naturally. They want that extra
Yeah.
challenge
Or gun,
associated with it.
or
Yeah.
gun. They might, but it's just so easy. See, in South Africa, why I would say it's a gateway is guns are heavily regulated. It takes like a year to get a license. So 9 times out of 10, if a guy doesn't get a gun, it's because of the schlep that he has to go through, the struggle to get that gun. So I always find in South Africa, crossbow is a perfect gateway because it shoots like a gun, but it's considered a bow, so there's no regulations around it. So literally, a guy can take it and decide, does he enjoy the fact that the projectile is slower? He can kind of see it and he's a part of the hunt. Or did he enjoy looking down the scope and challenging himself shooting further? And he'll kind of go from there, deciding if he wants to kind of gravitate towards rifle or bow.
Yeah. For sure. And we kind of got off on a tangent right from the get go. So let me go back around. So for the people that aren't familiar with you, just tell us a little bit. How did Outdoors with Travis start? Kind of give us the background. I think Oscar and I know, but give everybody watching the background.
So, like everyone does, I threatened to do a YouTube channel very early on. But I think it's very dangerous to start a YouTube channel when you don't have the actual knowledge. So I only started hunting in beginning of 2020, archery as a whole. Um, I have 7 generation of hunters down my lineage, but because my dad was never in my life, it missed me. And my grandfather died in 2019, and like 3 months before he passed, he gave me his hunting jacket. It's just like this big woolly, like really warm winter hunting jacket. And when he passed, and I kind of got over it, and life kind of carried on. 2020 came around, and I decided like I really want to hunt, but I just came out of the private security sector and I'm shooting 7,000 rounds a month from room clearance to AR-15s, AK platforms, all kind of platforms except bolt action, I must say. And I was just like, I don't want to do it with a gun because I'm going to sight it in and I'm going to it's going to be carnage. And so I wanted to test myself. It wasn't about rifle hunting's easy. It was about I wanted to learn a new skill while developing this new thing that I think I'm going to love. And so went to my nearest bow shop, organized myself literally like a Bowtech Fuel little kiddies bow. Oh, well, kiddies bow. It's an all rounder, but it's essentially the 70-pound kiddie bow. And went on my first hunt to confirm that I enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it, and it's been chaos ever since. And so, literally 2020 until about 2023, beginning of 2023. I was already always into cameras and video and handling marketing portfolios because that was my way of transitioning out of actively participating in the private security industry to more of a desk job because I was getting involved in too many shootouts and hostage situations and court cases and it was starting to destroy home life. And so I tried to stay in the industry because I understood it, but transition into a marketing and brand strategy role. And and so naturally I was around cameras and stuff. And then not one day, I really just hated my job. The people that I worked with, right up to, the way it was run by the owner. And I was passionate about the company, but it wasn't going to go anywhere because change comes from the top down. It doesn't start from the bottom. And just decided if anything is going to change, then this is kind of the direction that I think is going to last the longest because I'm absolutely obsessed with this. Started the YouTube channel and flip. I think my first few videos were like 2 minutes long, and I thought, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. And slowly just really had to teach myself from the get-go like how thumbnails work and how to lay out videos and how to talk on camera to make it feel more natural and how to deliver information over a longer format because there is such a thing as social proof. People are like, how are you going to solve my problem in 2 minutes? So then you have to learn how to make, I could solve your problem in literally 30 seconds, but I've got to make this into a 15-minute video. And so the last 2 years has just been this journey of building that. And then obviously, I mean, I would say, that rule of 10,000 hours, that's, I haven't posted as much as many other people on YouTube, but I've done my 10,000 hours of research. And I found one of these videos where the guy was literally saying, you kind of can't just do everything you like. And you can't do everything that you think the audience would like because then you're going to burn out because you're just not going to enjoy it. But what you got to, that I'm so glad I put it to the side of my face because that would have been a great thumbnail. But you kind of have to find where they intersect. The thing that you absolutely love and the thing that you can see in the market that the audience is demanding. And that was survival. I saw the survival industry is just huge, millions and millions of views. But the archery industry, even Josh Bomar, some of his best videos that I would rate, or some of his top videos, 2.5 million subscribers, like 20,000 views. So there's something missing in the archery industry. And so then I kind of joined the two, and I thought, I love pushing myself. I always have. It's why I try to join the military. It's why I did bodyguarding. I've always, I don't know, I find joy in facing adversity and hopefully coming through on the other side. And when I do, I get a little boost of dopamine or whatever it is. And so I was like, shit, how cool would it be to really push myself in the bush, but with a bow in hand? So it still relates to what I love, but it also could potentially get views and get me out of what I really don't like quicker. And that's kind of how Outdoors with Travis came. But then it very quickly evolved because I've always had a heart to help people. So it very quickly evolved. And also, I can't be doing survival videos 3 times a month while I have a full time job. And so I had to diversify if I wanted to try and make this thing a full time. And that's the story of Outdoors with Travis. It snowballed from there. I got very well known for the survival stuff, especially in South Africa. But then I started building a name for understanding archery to a fairly good level to start educating guys, especially on the beginner level or intermediate level, on how to get better, especially when it comes to money, because I didn't grow up with money. So my touch point is like, don't waste money testing. Listen to me. Just trust me. I've spent the dollars. And if you're trying to accomplish this goal, this will fix it. And if you're trying to, and I never push the super expensive stuff. The CBE Track Pro is not the most expensive sight. And the other day I tried UV, not the new one, the older model, the UV slider. Absolutely didn't like it. I went straight back to my CBA Track Pro. The pins weren't bright enough for me. I always had to run the light. And in the African bush, I want to get away from as many battery operated things as possible. And so I went with that. And so, yeah, that's the, not to go completely off topic, but that is Outdoors with Travis. I essentially 10 days of the month get to hunt myself in Africa. And while doing that, I'm putting products from broadheads to arrows to bows, all that kind of stuff really through the test, because I only walk and stalk. Um, have nothing against anything else. I just enjoy getting out there and finding paths that people have never walked on and walking riverbeds that no one's touched. And I just really, again, for some reason, I enjoy torturing myself.
There's a ton of similarities between, how you started in it and how we started in it. And one of the things I'll touch on, and we went for, it started out of just as a passion for hunting and being outdoors. And I think when the channel first started, we were making hunting videos, not because we wanted to, just because we liked doing it and wanted to share it with other people. So it didn't start off to become a YouTube thing. It originally started, hey, this is this platform, and then I can share it here, and then all my friends can go on there and watch it, right? Kind of thing. And it took several years, to get to, I think we're at like year 3 with 480 subscribers or something like that. And it was weird because I have videos that would get 50, 60,000 views. Like, come on guys, how hard is it to hit the subscribe button? Right? It's this little thing. And I hate asking people to do it, right? But you get these views and these videos go well. And then we had one video, and it happened to be a podcast. I think it was at Sarah Ripley Forsyth that really shot off. We started doing podcasts, and then Sarah came on the show, and it just, because she reaches a lot of people on the conservation side and the game breeding side, and had a pretty good following, and it's kind of kicked off. And
Where's she from?
It's
I
from
know
South
the name,
Africa.
but
Yeah, she
Okay.
runs Kedar Heritage Center, so she's going to be northwest proper of Joburg. Her family owns the Carnivore Restaurant. I don't know if you've heard of that,
Oh,
just outside of Joburg.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, been.
Yeah, Misty Hills Resort and Spa, and the Paul Kruger Heritage Center. So, and I actually got to spend a week with her out there at Kedar at Paul Kruger's homestead this trip, and we filmed a bunch out there. What a cool experience that was to see the
Awesome.
history. It was so cool. But yeah, she was the one that really come on, and people started watching, and then it just kind of took off from there. And we've had really steady growth. Our growth slides when we go to Africa to film, because we're not putting content out as much as we used to. We'll do a lot of shorts kind of thing, but the long form shit we just don't have time to do. And you make a concerted effort to, kind of have a backlog of all this material to release. And it sounds great in theory, but to actually produce it while you're getting ready for a trip and while you're scripting and getting all this other, it's nearly impossible to do. So every year the channel takes a little bit of a
Super
hit
tough.
while we're Yeah, well, while we're doing those long hunts, the short ones, the 4 or 5 days here and there, not bad. We can produce content to get through that. But when you're gone for like 6 weeks again this year, it's hard. So and then it takes the algorithm time to kind of catch back up, and where you'll see those subscriber numbers. But yeah, it was very similar to us. And obviously for us, controversy, like I hit controversy head on. Like I don't give a flying like you made mention, our little Facebook war kind of thing, our social media thing. It's not so much of a war as, unfortunately, controversy is good for business. People tune
There's
in and
no
watch
such
that shit.
thing as bad publicity.
None. And sometimes you got to take a corporation on, or a group on that I think, I've got my own personal opinions about how all that shit happened. We won't get into that now, but that I've got more stuff coming. But anyway, so let me ask you this. So all right, kind of rapid fire kind of stuff. What's your favorite animal you've hunted with a bow so far?
So, favorite in terms of like the experience, or favorite animal to hunt?
Favorite animal?
To date, porcupine.
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 I would not.
Never
Both,
would have guessed.
both,
No,
both my experience and how it made me a hunter, but also just the animal. I mean, my last one now, I haven't posted it yet. I posted the photo on Instagram, but I haven't posted the GoPro footage and stuff. But literally, I'd like to do some night hunting in South Africa, because guys in America, it's legal. But what I do is, I literally it was no moon over 5 days, and I literally go out, let my eyes adjust, and I just walk, and I wait for bushes to crack, I wait for grass to crunch. I'll walk 20 steps, and I'll just stand still, and you wait for something to come, and I walk. And then I have literally my gun light I strap with electrical tape over my bow sight, so then whenever I aim is at least lit up, and I don't shoot over 20 yards. And then I just did another porcupine similar to this guy behind me, and literally 20 yards, I heard these little footsteps, and I kind of knew just from the audio it was a porcupine, from the quills like hitting the rocks on the road. And I just went down on my knees, and I just closed my eyes, and I sat and I'm like, he must be 20 yards. And then I flicked the light on, put it on him, drew the bow back, smoked him. And that's my second porcupine. And I don't know why, but the conditions you have to hunt them in, especially at night, is just so fun for me.
yeah, it does. That sounds like
sick.
Yeah, that's one of the few
Add it
animals
to the
that
list.
I don't have that one on the wall yet. So I've got
You almost have to do it at night.
Yeah.
You almost will not get him in the day. It'll be very rare. It's kind of like a bush pig in the day. It doesn't really happen.
Well, so I've got one ish. I was hunting Cape Gracebuck 3 years ago, and big porcupine. However, I put the wrong round in the gun. I put a 130. It's a custom round that Sig makes, 130 ballistic tip in, and I had I had FMJs hunting the Gracebuck. Put this round, and I thought it was a soft. It turned out to be a ballistic tip, and I exploded this porcupine.
There's nothing left.
Nothing. It just went everywhere. It was like a grenade went off, right? And he's out there rattling, and it was the first time I'd been that close to one. It was so cool. I'm like, this is going to be perfect.
Did you get the death rattle? That like...
No, he exploded instantly. It was a rattle when there was nothing left to rattle. There was quills that were 40 yards in each direction, kind of thing. It was crazy.
Shit. Okay.
Oops. So for folks out there watching, you probably don't want to use any kind of ballistic tip. If you want to, maybe a 2.2 is good. A 2.23, 22, something like that. You probably don't want a ballistic tip them with a 300 Win Mag, for example. You may be a little overgun there.
Just a little.
What was your walk us through then one of your most memorable stalks? So what people don't understand a lot of times coming from the States, we don't spot and stalk a lot here, especially with a bow. You can do it during elk season, and you can do it with some muleys. Whitetailer, extremely difficult, if not almost impossible. So when you go to South Africa or Africa in general, 90% of the hunting there is spot and stalk, and that's how you do it. So for me, I love a good spot and stalk. So what's your most memorable experience where everything just came together, the stars aligned, and everything worked out?
I've done so many animals in the last 5 years that it's very hard to outline one. I think if I really had to choose where like stars aligned and everything, not just, it's so hard for me to say normal, because I literally just came off a trip where I did 4 animals in 10 days, purely walk and stalk. It's just normal for me to do that. But if there's one that sticks with me, it's probably the video that kickstarted my YouTube channel, the one that like, I'm going to do this properly. And it's called, I think I called it something like Bowhunting short film or something in Africa. It's where I did a wildebeest. It was my first walk and stalk animal 3 years ago, where I decided this is how I want to hunt, and let's see if I can get it done. And I took a camera guy with me, and it would probably be, it's a female wildebeest, so it's not even a trophy story or that he was giant. It was none of that. It was just 3 days of pure torture of just walking all day and right into the evenings every day for 2 days. And then the third day, literally at sunset, I managed to get it done. And it was also in summer, so we didn't have, it was like, I don't know for you guys, like 105 to 115 degrees kind of vibe, 40 degrees Celsius days. And the stars just aligned, and we used bushes and everything. It was a herd of 50 wildebeest. They are the most wildest things you've ever seen. They were in a spook for every branch that snaps, and they were in the open, but there was one big tree, ground bush or brush tree. And my camera guy and I were like, we're going to do this. And we literally managed to like crawl right up on it. Nothing even knew that we were there. Sun was to our back, wind was in our face. It was like perfectly set up. And it was the first time I'd ever run a heavy arrow as well, 3 years ago. 550 grains or whatever was heavy for me. And I placed a frontal or quarter in away shot, or quarter in two shot down the side of her neck. And it literally went, it just disappeared. I didn't even know if I hit or not. And it turned out like it went all the way into the hind quarter. And so it was lung, top of heart, liver, and stopped in the hind quarter with a Sever 1.5. And on camera, it ran, it went down, and it was just like, it was the moment I became a walk and stalk bow hunter, because it was the first time I was doing it properly. And so yeah, the way the stars aligned right down to the fact that it was the start of all of this really. I think that would be the most memorable hunt that I have to date. But then I've got crazy stuff, dude. I've got that survival video that you should see on my channel, where I shot my first porcupine, this guy over here, and I slept in the bush for 3 days in muddy mud, but in mud in the bottom of a valley with, it was just absolutely freezing. And I had one torch with me and a camera with me, and I camped out in the valley until one night I heard quills and flicked on the torch, and there he was, and I placed the shot. And why this guy is so special to me is because we had a family farm in Hartbeespoort area for quite a while. And so I found this cave with my nephew that was told as a tale to us. This is why I would say it's a bit of two. This is probably the one where I really became a hunter, and it's extremely special to me. I talk about it all the time. So our family buys this farm. It's owned by the same family since 1880. So they've got like 6, 7 generations of lineage that came out of this property. And they tell us, like in World War One, because there was not much news, there was no television, all that kind of stuff. When they heard about World War, they thought that they were going to get affected and that war was coming to them, because it was so deep on the interior that there's no way to get news and newspapers and that kind of stuff. And so they hid their jewelry in this cave in the valley. And no one's seen the cave since like 60 years ago because it's just too thick. And so my nephew, that was like 6 years old at the time, he's a massive hunting fanatic and bush fanatic. We said, right, we're going to take some supplies and we're not coming home until we find this thing. And so we end up finding it, and he actually found it. We were walking like through this thick stuff, and he was like, I think that's the cave. And I was like, no ways that this kid found it over me. Like the dude that's like 20, 25 years plus older than him. And sure as nuts, it was the cave. And then I recreated the video of us finding the cave so it could be a story for YouTube. And for 3 years, I monitored. So when we climbed into this cave, we found 2 porcupine. I mean, he's 6 years old and he's climbing into the interior. You had to really like crawl. It barely fitted my ass. And we both climbed in this cave and experienced it together. And we don't know if there's going to be a leopard or a snake or something like that. And we find these 2 porcupines. The cave's about 35 meters long. And it just keeps getting skinnier and skinnier. And right at the end, when I put my gun torch on, there's 2 porcupine. And so I was like, well, if I shoot one, chances are this is a male and female. So if I shoot one, what's the chances of keeping them in this valley and growing the numbers to a place where one day I'll shoot one or many, because we've nurtured that population. And just before that, I would shoot anything. I just wanted to hunt. I was hunting like once a month for 2 years straight. And in that moment is when I became a real hunter, when I was like, I want to watch these numbers and nurture these numbers. And when it gets to a sustainable number, I want to take one because that's going to be special. And then 3 years later, I did the survival video where I shot that porcupine. And I felt like I feel like why he's so special is, one, I really had to go through some gritty shit to get him. But not only that, I waited 3 years because I wanted to watch their numbers and make sure that I was doing it ethically or sustainably, should I say. So one launched my where I am today. It was like, should I make a video? Yeah, let's make a video, take a videographer and see if it goes somewhere. And then this guy made me a hunter. Like this guy's the most special animal I've hunted to date. Just because it made me a hunter, a real hunter, a guy that thinks about the numbers and thinks about population and not just about killing everything he sees.
That's a fantastic
That's
story.
sick.
That's so cool.
I want to go hunt porcupine now.
Yeah, right?
Oh, so fun.
So, all right, well, and you talked about it a little bit, but how do you, so you're doing all these survival type hunts, right? 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever, days on end now. How do you prepare physically and mentally for a hunt like that? What goes through your mind?
Nothing goes through my mind. I'm like, cool, we're gonna go do this. I really don't, I'd really, especially recently, I started looking at my body as a calorie count. I've let my body go over the years. If I showed you what I looked like when I was like military and post-military versus now, I really have let myself go. And I'm on the journey of gaining back control of my body. But it's all just a calorie thing. It's like, what are you burning in the day over 3 days? And can you sustain it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little fat. So I definitely can sustain it. My body can pull those calories from somewhere else without me eating. So I definitely look at it like a very statistical, like, I'm not going to die. I carry a gun with me because it's very possible I'm going to come across a leopard or something like that that could hurt me. And that's the only kind of real danger factor to it that I feel. Or maybe snakes, which I have yet to come across in the bush, which is crazy for the amount of walking that I'm doing. And
I was absolutely going to ask you about snakes.
dude, even when I was in Montana in January, and everyone was like, I want to do Africa, but snakes. I shit you not. 95% of people ask me that. And I'm like, I have walked and stalked thousands of kilometers. I mean, this last trip alone was 10 days. I did 15 to 20 Ks a day because I'd walk 10 to 15 in the day, go back for dinner, make myself dinner, freshen up, and then go do 7 to 8 Ks at night walking, doing some night hunting. So I essentially did, let's say, 120 Ks in 10 days. So I've done thousands of kilometers and I've yet to come across a snake. But then I talked to James from Bodisop and he's like, oh, dude, you'll come across 8 rattlers where I hunt. And I'm like, holy shit, that scares me.
Yeah, and that's what people, and we grew up in South Florida, so everything in South Florida, we have several venomous snakes, we've got alligators, like everything here wants to bite you, to kill you, to drag you off. So as kids, we all grew up, walking with our head down on the ground, looking where you're stepping, and there's kind of that thought. And for years, going to Africa, I'm like, man, sooner or later, there's gonna be a mama sitting right here, and it's gonna be game on. And all these years, I finally saw my first snake ever. So we were talking the other day trying to figure out how many safaris I've been on after all these years, and it's into the dozens now. But and I didn't even come across it. Our outfitter sent me a video, and then we went looking for it. He had a rock python coming up the outside of his window on his room, and he filmed it, then sent it to me on WhatsApp real quick. I'm like, oh shit! So we went to try to catch the thing, and we could never find it. But that's literally the only snake that I've ever come across, period. And I've seen, where they've come across the road, you can see them occasionally, but I've never seen one. And I'm still scared shitless of walking in the bush there thinking there's going to be a mamba or a boob slang or, a Cape Cobra or something sitting there waiting on me.
I must say, I think it might be a little bit of stupidity, but I don't even factor it in my walking. And I go through thick stuff. I'm just like, that's probably going to be quicker and nothing's ever walked it before, but I'm going to just bush. I've never factored into where my feet go in terms of snakes. And it's going to, excuse the pun, it's going to probably bite me one day. But I always said, if I am going to die in the bush, if I am going to die, there's no sweeter death than like in the bush under a tree. I'll press SOS on my iPhone and fucking hope someone comes.
Well, and that's that. So I've got the worst luck in the world when it comes to snakes. If there's a snake in 100-acre track, I'm going to be the asshole that doesn't see it, but steps on it. Sure as shit. It always happens. And a lot of hunters here.
You're third in the row as well. There's 2 guys ahead of you.
Yeah. They just walk by. It doesn't do shit. I never fails. The only time I see them is when I step on them. And most of us wear snake boots, especially, hunting Kentucky, hunting parts of Florida when we get in the swamp. You just do because you go to step over a log and shit, there's a rattlesnake there. Or, you're going through some marshy shit and, oh, there's a water moccasin right there. And water moccasins, I think they're by far for us, they're the most aggressive snake
That's a mean snake.
that we have. Like it'll come 50 meters if it sees you to try to bite you, kind of thing. It is not a pleasant and super venomous and dangerous as shit. But so, you grow up as a kid, hey, before you step over that log, maybe let's walk around the log or step on it and kind of look first, so there's not it could be a copperhead there. It could be a diamondback rattler there, whatever, because we've got snakes. And then you just don't go swim here in freshwater either. So, as a kid, we did some stupid shit and we just go jump in you call them dams, we call them ponds. We just go out there and jump in them and swim. Shit, there could be a 14-foot alligator out there, that's just gonna, one bite and you're done.
hungry.
Like yeah, and you ain't coming back. I mean, these things drag cows down, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, like I said, when I'm hunting in the States, I do think about it, but I really think about it when I'm in Africa, especially East Cape, not so much. When I'm up in the mountains, when I'm in the Karoo, it doesn't cross my mind much, but especially if I get up into like KwaZulu-Natal or Northern Limpopo, it's really on my mind then.
I think I haven't actually hunted KwaZulu-Natal. It's very far from me and I don't have contacts there or relationships there. I would be scared though, because some of our most venomous snakes, multiple venomous snakes, are sitting in KwaZulu-Natal. The green mamba, the black mamba, the boom slung, so tree snake. So I also would be pretty scared because it's also very thick and the snakes blend in better there and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just hasn't factored in it's again the pun, but it is going to bite me one day. But yeah, I also think as a bow hunter, you move so slowly, and I tend to like, especially when I know a friend taught me to really start smelling before even listening, because if the wind's good, you'll probably smell them before you even hear them. It's just crazy, but he's taught me and I've picked up on it and it works like a charm. And so you tend to like, I always watch like, that's less crunchier leaves. There's a sand patch versus leaf patch. There's a twig there I'm going to overextend over it. So I tend to walk really slow and watch where I step. But if I choose a point that I'm going to start at and I'm going to just, trunk towards it, yeah, it's scary to think that I've probably missed death a few times by a few inches. But yeah.
I was in KZN for, I think, 10 days last year. And I was hunting Sunni and red diker right in the sand forest.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
Everything there is, the trees, you hunt below the canopy, right? Down low. And so I'm like, where the is this next snake going to come from? Because I just knew like we are definitely seeing a snake here. So I had two PHs with me. I had a camera guy there. And every time we go to sit down, I'd make sure I was crunched up in the middle of them. So if a snake came, it'd get their asses first kind of thing. I'm just like, it's just going to happen. But yeah, just for whatever reason, aside from that one this year, I've not seen it. But people ask us that all the time. That when they're first going, hey, what about how is it? What do we do at night with the lions and the leopards and the snakes? I'm like, dude, don't worry about that shit. You're fine. You're totally safe. Well, no, Africa's wild as shit. I'm like, yeah, Africa is wild as shit. But those animals, first off, there's no free ranging lions left in South Africa, and while there is a big. I would argue that there's a giant leopard population, even though
Huge.
conservation doesn't want to say there is. I've seen the tracks. I've had animals that were covered by a leopard before me. Shislui last year.
Every place I've hunted shows signs of leopard in South Africa, and they're not next door properties. They are hundreds of kilometers apart. I think there's a huge population of leopard, but even leopard themselves are so human, so they've learned over the decades or centuries that humans are danger. They are not above humans on the, what's it called? What was it called? We are on top of the food chain.
Oh, the food chain. Yeah.
And so the only time I'm scared of a leopard is at night when I'm doing my survival stuff. Because from what I see, it seems like they're very ballsy at night, because it's almost like they become the apex predator. But during the day, it doesn't even factor. And I've walked and stalked straight into leopard on the Botswana border, taken photos with my phone, and it couldn't even give a shit that I was there.
That's crazy. I think I would give a shit if a leopard was there.
It'd be so cool if you could film that, getting attacked by a leopard.
I don't know. Most people don't make it out alive when they get to
But if you did,
you're right.
You know how many beers you could get for free?
Oh, 100%. I play that in my mind the whole time, and I'm just like, if you could just death roll with it, and it's so unrealistic, but if you could death roll with it and get a good grip on it or something like that. But yeah,
If
I
you could
would
just
I
scratch me
would go in
across the
there with,
chest.
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Get a
Y'all are
cool
both out of your
scarf.
fucking mind, by the way.
But it's crazy going back to that. Like the same guys that are scared of a leopard, a lion, or whatever, will go elk hunting in grizz country and be like, "Oh, that's fine."
That's me. Yeah. Well, I did Montana, 2 years ago with a bow, and we packed in, I don't know, we were back 10 or 15 miles, and they're like, oh, because you have to take this test as part of your license to be able to identify the difference between a brown bear and a grizzly bear. And I'm like, there's no fucking chance you're gonna. And there's bear scat everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, it. And I'm with a bow, right? So it's early September, it's early elk season, archery season, and I'm back in the nowhere. Like, I don't even think a sat phone would work back there, kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, it, let's go.
100%. I think Africa's got this big stigma around it, which is also what when I was in Montana and I was promoting a outfitter, I'd really try to communicate to guys, which is like, YouTubers tend to create this whole mystique about it, and it's super dangerous. And it's like, but there's so much infrastructure around the hunting community that you aren't in any unforeseeable danger. You're not going to get hit by a leopard unexpectedly. You're not going to get dragged by hyenas. The only thing that a PH can't protect you from is a snake. And as a guy that's done 100+ animals with a bow, walk and stalk, I have yet to come across one. So, there's just this big stigma. And I try to really convince people that I'm almost certain, I'll put my freaking money on it, that there's been more bear kills in the last 5 years than leopard kills in South Africa when it comes to humans.
And let's
And
not even
so,
talk about hippos and shit like that.
yeah, okay, so yeah, when you're close to water, there's a lot more danger to it. I think hippos is one of the largest fatality rates of land animals, or something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. Someone
It's
can correct me and put it in the comments.
yeah,
Or in Africa, it takes the most victims.
I think that number is correct. I think that's the most lethal animal, or statistically, more people die from hippo attacks than anything else, animal related. I believe that's true. But well, and to go there, so I was at Shasului last year in KZN, and we were at the outfitter's place, walking up to a little dam, which was actually a river section that it kind of dammed up a little bit. It was just a really pretty place, and I was going to go film some B-roll. So I'm down by the water and everything, and the outfitter walks up. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I'm filming some B-roll. He's like, you don't want to be in that fucking water. And right there, I'm like, why not? He's like, because there's hippos and crocs here. I'm like, ah, shit. Like, it never crossed my mind, right? I'm just down there like, look at this place. It's so beautiful. And B-roll,
Oh, it's so beautiful.
He's like, you see that steak right there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, we bait crocs right here. I'm like, son of a bitch. Oops. American down.
Gonna become Jonah 2.0. Just take the camera with you when you go in.
Son of a bitch. Well, and I think a lot of, especially on YouTube, you see a lot of people go out looking to get into shit too, looking for trouble. And, because that shit's
Look for it, you're
clickbaity.
gonna find it.
Yeah, and that's going to be my luck. I'm going to find it. It's going to find me first.
Well, you hear all the time the people that are like they want to be charged by Cape Buffalo.
No, you don't.
Absolutely not.
Have you done
Yeah,
any dangerous game with your bow yet?
they I haven't done dangerous. I've done a giraffe with a bow, one shot. Um, yeah, that's about it. The problem is for South Africans, and you guys will know this because you bring in dollars over here. It's just so expensive, And I cannot justify going to hunt a Cape Buffalo for 180,000 rand, when with that money I could go do trophy kudu, trophy waterbuck, trophy red hartebeest. I could literally go do like 15 different species for that price, and get one, the experience, and two, footage. And I just can't justify it. I'm not going to eat a buffalo. It's not the greatest tasting meat. So for me, if it comes up because of my status and the way I'm growing in the industry on this side, hell yeah, I'm going to go for it. But financially, it just doesn't make sense for me to go do buffalo at the moment.
Yeah, I think dangerous game with a bow, that definitely makes you pucker your asshole, especially when you get in close. I mean, I did a Cape Buffalo again this trip, and last year we were not successful with a bow. This year I said, you know what? I'm going to do it with a gun. I'm with my PH and my outfitter that I've hunted with for years and years and years, and really good genetics at the place we were at. So long spot and stalks. Found this thing. It glassed him up at 1,500 yards. Took like 4 hours to get in position and got within 15 yards of him. He never knew we were there. whistled him up. He'd already bedded, whistled up, and then his first step was, of course, right towards us. So I put one center mass, spun him, put another one in, and then put a third. And the whole time I'm watching the footage because I'm starting to edit it now, right? And I don't realize, but I'm running at this buffalo with a 375, just sending it, right? And so when my adrenaline kicked in, it wasn't the flight, it was the fight, that came out. And in the background, so in the B-roll and the main A cam, you can actually see it. We had 2 cams running in the back. Like, I'm running after this buffalo, just sending it. And my PH is running behind me, trying to fucking grab me the whole time. He's like, no, you fucking run after Cape Buffalo, you dumbass.
Yeah,
So
no, I think it's an incredible thing. Obviously, with the industry that I come from, I'm also a fight kind of guy. I tend to gravitate towards it, than being put on the back foot and having to run away from it. But I would have done what you done. I don't know why if it's running away and you don't know if your shot made it good, you need to close that distance and get those follow-up shots as fast as possible. I
well,
don't
to
know why
me,
he would run after you to stop you.
yeah, I think because probably most people that come don't run after a fucking Cape Buffalo. They usually have to hold him back from running the other fucking direction when he starts breaking through that. Because they'll go through they'll go
It
through
just
anything.
broke his nervous system.
Yeah,
Oh, dude,
yeah.
trees that look solid will be flattened by a buffalo if he's angry.
My cameraman on there. So I get the buffalo down, death moan. I think the third shot I broke his back and he just piled up. Still alive, so I had to finish him off. But death moan everything. And after I put that final coup de grace in, I look back at my cameraman. I'm like, "Are you all right?" He holds his hand up and he's doing like this. He got it all on camera. He's like, "I've never been that shit scared in my life." I'm like, "So what did you think?" He's like, "I want to film another one."
That's
It's
awesome.
it's
That's
just that
awesome.
kind of adrenaline, especially rifle hunting at range. That's one thing I love about spot and stalk with a bow. I still get nervous, right? I still get that adrenaline pumping, that heart beating out of your chest especially at long range with a rifle. It's just kind of matter of fact. I'm there to do a job and just go through the progressions and send it. But with a bow,
It's
there's
like
so many things.
systematical.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm really good because of that. I can shoot really well. But when it comes to a bow, for whatever reason, like, I get nervous as shit still when I'm on a spot and stalk, and it's a lot different too. You can hunt from a blind, and there's nothing wrong with hunting from a blind. A lot of people do it here in the States and hunt from tree stands. But when you're spot and stalking with a bow, that's a different kind of rush right there. Then you've got to be on point. And your shit better be right.
Oh yeah. Look, I would. So let's gravitate to a topic that I like to talk about: buck fever. So we call it in Afrikaans bokkoers, buck fever. Do you feel like some people have learned buck fever from social media influencers?
I think they absolutely have. Yeah, 100.
Because I feel like it's just become so dramatized that it's like it's a thing that you must do if you hit your buck at the right spot in the sweet spot. Because I don't know. Again, I started hunting after private security and multiple shootouts, and so like I don't even shake. Like there's absolutely no shake in my hand when I drop an animal. The only time I get elevated heart rate is like when I'm about to pull the bow back because I know that all of this is about to go down. All my hard work's going to conclude in this moment, or it's about to become a shit ton harder because I place a bad shot. And so then I get a bit of adrenaline, but like I don't shake. I don't feel like all these guys go after they shoot something. I enjoy the moment and then I move on.
I'm very much that way with a rifle. I never get nervous, and maybe after the fact, I think I get more. There's more emotion when I get to the animal to recover it to see, oh my god, this
Yeah,
was a great
same.
trophy or it was a great hunt kind of thing. But it's not that same kind of adrenaline as like a buffalo hunt, for example. That's a different kind of adrenaline, or to me a bow hunt. And I think my problem is, and I just don't shoot enough. So that's a big problem. With a bow, you need to shoot. I still struggle with, I call it target panic. Like I'm just too quick on the trigger or trying to guess the spot instead of holding through it. So I'm trying to tell myself, okay, don't be a douchebag. Don't be a douchebag. Breathe, settle in. And I still have a tendency to punch it too much. And I think, I don't know how to fix that other than just get your ass out and shoot, 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 shoot. I don't know any other way to do it. And unfortunately for me, I just don't have time to do that. I don't have the ability to put, 7,000 arrows downrange a year.
I think it's a good excuse for a lot of people for a bad shot, in my opinion. Of just like, oh, I pulled that shot because of buck fever. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm
So
different because I said maybe I'm different. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm different because to me, like Luke. our camera guy, Luke, was just like, he's like, "Are you excited?" I'm just like, "I'm not excited yet. I don't get excited until I'm holding the animal." You know what I mean? And everything. But I'm just like, okay, right there, right behind the shoulder or on the shoulder. Like it's like I'm looking to place a bullet exactly where I want to place it. So like it's not like, like I'm not looking at the trophy. I'm just looking at, 5 inches
Shot
above.
execution.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking at.
Very surgical. Yeah, and that's how I am with a rifle too. But I, when I'm behind a bow, for whatever reason, I get target panic at a target, just a regular everyday target. Like for whatever reason, my sight acquisition sucks, and I don't trust my sight either. So I've got we bought.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, well, because I've had two major ups in Africa in the past 2 years. Same exact site. I told myself it was just a fluke the first year and it wouldn't happen again.
What was it?
It's a Garmin A1i Pro. And I can tell you in the African bush, those things don't range for shit. I mean, they will pick up fucking everything and you're going to get, I mean,
The
you can clearly
grass,
see
the this, the that.
that animal is clearly it. I'll give you a for example. 2 years ago, giraffe hunt with a bow. Giraffe is clearly standing at no more than 45 yards, and I'm trying to range this thing, and there's a little bit of brush, a little bit of cover, and I'm getting anything from 15 yards to 80 yards to 60 yards. I'm like, the one that kept popping up, and it was like 62 yards or 63, and I'm like, I don't fucking trust this thing, but trust the equipment. Sent it right over its fucking back. I'm like, that's a huge miss, right? On a giraffe that's giant. And I'm like, but it's happened several times to me. So I'm going back to a fixed site now, probably a single pin or a stacked site. But those electronics, and you alluded it to before, the more shit you put on your bow like that, the more shit that can happen. That's the same thing with a rifle with those electronic sights too. The more shit you have on there, there's more that can go wrong. And I'm just it. I'll go back to a fixed site or something. And I went away from a conventional, pin sight because I like the ability to be able to range and have the reticle pop up instantly just by pulling the bow back. So I don't have to have a rangefinder with me. I don't have to have this. And that. Obviously, you need to be relatively close still, but you avoid all that additional movement, right? So my idea was if I can avoid all that movement and I can just do everything in one motion, it's great. And I've taken several deer with it out of a tree stand where there's nothing around me but flat ground, in a cornfield kind of thing. Well, guess what? It's easy to range that animal there, but when you're down on the ground, a spot and stalk,
Different.
that thing did not and that's an expensive sight too.
I'm glad you're saying this because I'm actually in talks with them. So I'm brutal, bro. No one can buy my opinion. You can sponsor me something, and if it's shit, I'm going to tell everyone.
Does that
And
sound
so-
familiar?
Yeah.
So I have still yet, for the price point, found a better sight than the CBE Track Pro. But the 3-pin multi-pin slider sight. It comes with metal sight tapes. I sight that thing up to 100 yards, and the sight tapes don't stop at 100. They keep going depending on your speed, which is quite nice for the guys that want to reach out far. But literally, and there's got a dead stop position that a lot of guys don't even know. I met a guy yesterday that's like a veteran archer, won multiple tournaments in South Africa, and like he's not running the dead stop position. I'm like, do you not even know how to use this sight? Like you're not maximizing. So the dead stop position is like literally if you are in some pretty thick stuff and you originally were countering for a 50 to 60 to 70 yard shot, you don't even have to look at your bow. You crank it, and when it stops, your pins are back to 20, 30, 40. So you don't have to look at your sight tape and line up an indicator. 3 pins, so 20, 30, 40. And then when you go out further, you can have multiple indicators on your sight tape to know where that 20, 30, and 40 pin is. So if it walks closer, you can just kind of aim between or closer to the 20-yard pin, but you're at 50, 60, 70. And then if it goes further, you can kind of gauge that as well. So that's given me so much versatility in the bush. And it's got rust on it. I've put that sight, I've killed like 50 something animals with 14 different bows over the last year or so, year and a half or so. And it's all been with that sight. I've yet to find a sight that works better for me.
And does so I ran something so in Montana, for example, we can't run anything that have electronics. So when I bow hunted out there, I had to get rid of the Garmin, and I don't remember what I went with, but it was something similar. I think the first pin was fixed at 20, and then the second 2 pins would move. They would move on a sight tape, and that seemed pretty decent, But like I said, I'm not the archer that you are. So matter of fact, send me the info on that site if you really like it. I'll see if we can get
Oh
it over
yeah.
here because I need something for sure.
And I must say, those 3 pins, that if you get the Track Pro, those 3 pins are actually on a turret. So there's no more that Allen key when you loosen it, it can kind of just wobble up and down and you kind of have to fine tune. You literally loosen an Allen key and you turn a turret with micro adjustments to move individual pins, all 3 pins, and they can only move 1 pin at a time. So you're not moving all of them. You can literally fine tune your 20, 30, 40. And then when you push it out to 60, 70, 80, you can fine tune it further to match your sight. It's just for the price, I've yet to find a better sight. And I literally picked up a UV slider like 6 weeks ago, thinking I was going to like build a super bow with quattro stabs and everything like that. And I was just like, there's no ways I'm running a sight that I absolutely, even in broad daylight, I need a battery on to light up the fibers. And I went back to my CB Track Pro with some rust in it and just absolutely abused over the years.
So while we're talking about bows, let me ask your opinion. Give me your opinion on stabilizers, forward and rear stabilizers.
I'm a hoe, dude. Like if there was if there was strippers in archery, I'd be the dude on the pole calling it a stabilizer. I'm obsessed with them because I really do think it can take an average archer to the next level if you understand how they work and if you maximize the way they balance out the bow. I literally went on a fallow deer hunt, one of these guys, beginning of the year, like Marchish, April, during the rut. And youngster, 7 generations owned this farm, huge place. Also, one of the very few free range, absolutely no fence. And every mountain range you could see belonged to this family. It was just absolutely incredible. And he was like 19, 20 years old, fresh out of school. And he's like, I would never shoot past 30 because like I can't even keep my pin straight on 30. And then I look at his bow and he's got this like stabilizer that's this big. And I'm like, yeah, because you're shooting a bare bow. And he's like, no, I'm not. I've got all this stuff. And I'm like, that's a bare bow. And so I literally took my stab off, stacked some weight, put it on there, put it on an 8-degree slant because he only had an upper stabilizer mounting point. He didn't have the lower one. And I took him out to 50 yards in like 10 arrows. And he's shooting like a 1.5 inch group. So I think that's what a stabilizer can do. If you've got target panic, stabilizers are going to help you with target panic because your pin float isn't as aggressive and you don't
Yahtzee.
feel like you're not throwing your bubble around as much because you're trying to get it in the middle. But the only reason it's in the middle is because you're putting something in the bow to keep it there versus, I was actually just talking to a professional archer yesterday, and the way I set up my bow, I literally pull it back and I never have to look at the bubble unless I'm on super uneven ground and I have to consciously bring it back because the bow gravitates to the slant of the ground. And so I've set my stabilizers to literally, if I'm on semi-flat surface, I don't even have to look at my bubble. Pull it back, it's dead center. And that's what a stabilizer can do for you.
And maybe
Stabilizers.
maybe that's what I need. I'm running a short little just a screw in. It's a Matthew stabilizer, but it's a I don't know. It's a 6 inch or an 8 inch just off the front. And I'm like, man, I don't think this fucking thing does anything. And then I talk to people all the time, and I see these much larger stabilizers and rear stabilizers. I'm like, man, there's something to it. You maybe need to look into that. That could probably help you out a little bit. But like I said, I don't do it enough. But I guess maybe now I need to look into some stabilizers. It may be time to update my bow game too. That bow's starting to get a little bit old now.
Oh, I need a new bow.
But yes, and the other thing I saw too, I think I caught it in one of your videos. You were using your stabilizer to kind of counteract. You were coming to full draw and using your stabilizer because you had your quiver on right to make sure that you didn't have any can in the bow too. And I never thought about that before. I'm like, well, that makes good sense because if you've got all this weight, on one side,
On the
that bow is
right-hand
going to want it.
side.
Yeah, it's going to want a cant.
So again, it's so crazy. This guy that I was with yesterday, he owns Wild Creek 3D targets. It's like the most detailed 3D targets you can get on the market, and they're actually made in South Africa, but they ship worldwide. And he's been in the game for years, winning multiple 3D tournaments here on the South African, front. And I had to coach him through why he wants to have a sidebar on his hunting bow and why he shouldn't stack more weight on the back bar than the front bar. And I'm like, how is this? And it's clearly just not very common knowledge. But the only thing I do is I stack maybe 3 ounces on the back or 2 ounces on the back, depending on how far that bar has to go before it balances out the right hand side weight of the bow. But I want to keep it as light as possible, and I stack everything out front to pull the bow away from me so it counter levers from your anchor point, which is the trigger on the D loop. And so, and then also it gives a downward motion. So what I find is the most inaccurate shots I ever place is when a bow is so light that it rocks backwards on the shot instead of down and forward. And so I was doing some tests yesterday with the Cruiser G4, the Bear Cruiser G4. So I was trying to make a video because I've done it before with a Cruiser G3 and a Stinger from PSC, where I take a super cheap bow and I prove that people are just full of shit and they're not training hard enough. But I really had a hard time yesterday shooting that bow, even though I set it up for me. And it was two things: string angle. I couldn't anchor under my chin because then I couldn't see through the peep, because the peep meets the speed knocks on the string. So I can't, and I got a big ass nose. It's just a thing. So I can't, I always run a peep very high to cater for that, and I can't get that. And then the second thing is, as I shoot, the bow wants to come back because I'm putting backward pressure. But I want a bow to rock forward and towards the target that I'm shooting. And so I always just recommend, you don't have to go stupid heavy, and you don't even have to go long, but get a definitive bias out front. Balance the bow to the left and the right with your sidebar. And the only way you do that is on flat ground at home. Pull your bow back and try do absolutely nothing with your grip hand, like as relaxed as possible, and see where that bubble gravitates to, and then fixed that sidebar to the point that with absolutely no input with your grip hand or the support hand, that the bubble's dead center. And it's just, I literally do it in the evening within 5 minutes. Pull back, not right. Pull back, not right. Pull back, not right. And then when I get it right, I just take a photo of where my stabilizer is. So when I fly, because I fly a lot to hunt, I know exactly where I must put it if it's moved in flight.
That's a great piece of advice for folks out there. Especially, I mean, and I think that I'll take away the stabilizer thing for sure. So if I'm going to try it, I tell you what, I'll make a video on it. I'll see if the shitty, my shitty skills can improve by putting some stabilizers on there that aren't, that big.
Yeah. So, and the shortest I've run is 10 inches with the Hoyts, their new stabilizer line that came out this year. But then I stacked 1.5 ounces on the front of that rubber dampener. Worked beautifully. But honestly, and it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but my standard rollout stabilizer setup is 10 to 12 inches on the back and then 15 inches on the front. Now, I don't recommend that for everyone. It is a bit ridiculous, but I'm willing to do it. I stick it under my armpit. I turn the bow the wrong way around. I stick it under my armpit. It almost counter levers the weight of the bow. Then I put it on my shoulders. Then I swap hands. I'm not bothered by it. And then when I go on all fours, it literally works as like a walking stick if you've got a nice solid stab. So it works nice for me. And if I place the bow down with a 15-inch stab, my arrow, because I shoot mechanicals, never touches the ground. So I don't have that issue either.
That's a handy idea. All right. So you're shooting a trigger, not a conventional hunting release, right?
Yeah. So I shoot thumb. I too, and I want to circle back to what you say you're struggling with, which is target panic, and it kind of just, you can execute good on the range, but then a buck comes in front of you and all decision-making skills go out the fucking window with a bow. And so I've been struggling with that recently. And I kind of devised it to, one, a trigger being too light, which makes you scared of it and thinking that you have to act quick. And so before I figured that out, which was only 2 days ago, for the last 6 months, have been training with a back tension. So you almost cannot punch a back tension. It just, and if you do, it's so bad that you'll never do it again, because you cannot hit the thing that you're trying to shoot at if you punch it, because you're trying to pull. So that's really gotten me back to the basics of making sure that you understand that the pin just needs to be on what you're aiming at, and then follow through the process, kind of splitting your body in two. There's a front half that has to keep the pin on the thing that you're aiming at, and a back half that has to apply consistent pressure until the thing fires. And I've got so good at that over the last 2 years, but 6 months to date, I've just really lost it. And so that back tension has helped me bring back good shot processes of draw, check my bubble, pin on, are my anchors feeling good, and then slowly start extending in a backward motion until the trigger fires. And so I've had to go completely back to basics. And now my thumb, I'm running super hard, because then it's almost like a back tension. I can't actually just punch it. I have to pull through the motion. And that's helping me a ton. I mean, a guy that shoots hundreds, if not thousands, of arrows weekly, I am struggling with target panic out of nowhere, and I've had to go back to basics and then coach myself out of it.
And you shoot with a nose button too, don't you?
I It's not that I'm endorsing Josh, but
Oh no, I didn't
it
mean
is
necessarily a Bomar
no, no, no,
button, just a button
no,
in
no, no.
general.
But yeah, so I was gonna say before I say yes, it's a Bowmar nose button. I'm not endorsing it, but that has been my secret weapon to place like a 4-second total shot process on an impala at 75 yards, which is what I did recently, and still hit that animal and kill it. And my night hunts where I literally can't see my peep when I hunt at night. I shit you not, I just see my sight. But because of my nose button and my consistent anchor position, I know I'm looking through the peep. And so that's the power of a nose button, is like when all shit goes loose and your decision making skills decrease dramatically, you've got something there that is consistent between training sessions and hunting in the field. And so that's I swear by a nose button.
I use a cheek button, similar kind of thing for me. It's the repetition. I've got to be able to put it right there every time before I can even kind of start going through my
Is
process.
is it is it the corner of your lip?
Corner of my lip, yeah.
Kisser. I think they
Yeah,
call it
kisser
a
button.
kisser
Excuse me,
button.
kisser button. Yeah, yeah. And my
Nice.
local archery shop, they're like, and you're pussy. You don't need that. If you got problem, listen, that's what I need. Mental, I need something to be able to focus on rather than all this other shit that's going on. So my local shop here, they're like, no, no, no. But then I go to a place like Mike's Archery, for example, in
Mhm.
Ironton, and they're like, yeah, whatever helps you, we'll get it on there. We'll get you set up. I mean, it's just about muscle memory and doing the same thing every single time.
That's it. And I truly believe, just like a gunfight, and although I'll be honest, I've probably had more clarity in my gunfights that I've had in the years of private security than I do when I pull my bow back on an animal. I had way more decision making power in those situations than when I do pull back on an animal. But things go to shit when adrenaline dumps and there's anticipation and you've worked all year for something and now this animal's in front of you. Why would you not want to have the advantages of bringing you back to that as much as possible? And guys shoot amazing without them, but I would just want something that says you're doing exactly what you did in training.
Yeah, I like it. Well, I'm going to throw one at you too, since you don't give a shit about throwing people under the bus. Let's talk gear for a second. So
I love gear.
let's talk
I'm a
flagships.
gearhead.
Let's talk Hoyt, Matthews, PSE. For your opinion, what's the best out there right now that you can? If you were let's not say new hunter, because that's going to be a different answer. If you're a seasoned veteran and your bow's a few years old and you want to go out and look at one of these new flagship bows, where would you gravitate?
The one, this is the opinion that I always say. Once you hit that flagship status, they all 1.5 to 2 gram bows. None of them are actually bad bows. You cannot get a bad flagship bow from the core four: Hoyt, PSE, Elite, and Matthews. And Prime. Prime's also a great bow. So what you have to say is, what dealership holds as many of these flagship bows as possible, and what dealership cares about the customer enough to have D loops and rests on for me to shoot multiple shots and see what feels great for me. Because I got good friends that are absolutely Matthews obsessed, and I got good friends that would swear by a Hoyt, and I got good friends that would swear by Elite. And every single one of them, if I was a new archer, I would have trusted to take their opinion, but it might have not been the bow for me. And so, and I learned that the hard way. Elite sent a bow for us to test here in Africa, the Exalt 35. And I just come back off using the Elite Ethos. And the Ethos, in my opinion, I've never shot a bow better than the Ethos. At 50 yards, I couldn't shoot at the same golf tee because I just broke arrows. It was the best archery season of my life, like 3 months of the Ethos. And so I thought, well, if an Exalt 35 is anything like the Ethos, it's just going to be more stable, but way better because it's a 35 axle to axle. I couldn't tune the bow. I could never gel with it. I couldn't shoot it nicely. It was probably my worst accuracy I ever had. I could never paper tune it. But I bet you there's guys out there that are winning championships with it. So I think, one, and it's very hard to say, but I think I'm very far from any kind of brand deal sponsorship where I'll be exclusive. And the guys that help me in South Africa, the bow shop, kind of doesn't want me to be, so people can trust my opinion. And so I'm in a great spot where I can be like, yeah, the Elite makes great bows, but this one's honestly shit. And then, Hoyt makes great bows, but what the fuck was this? And so I think I'm in a great place where I can tell the truth. And I just constantly, I've said it with guns, I've said it with everything. Like, I carry Glock. It's definitely not the most ergonomical pistol that you can carry for everyday carry. There's a lot of better guns out there that are going to fit you nicer and going to be a bit more, polished products. So don't take my opinion that Glock has saved my life and I've shot 36,000 rounds out of my self-defense pistol. Like, go to the range, feel, test, shoot, holster, conceal, outside the waistband, and then make a decision, just like bows. I think guys trust influencers way too hard that are paid to say this product is the best product ever. And I love John Dudley, and I actually want to film him when he comes to Africa next. But he's a prime example of influencers that lose contracts and the very next month say that another bow brand is the best in the world.
Going back to
And
where he
so
started.
what other influencers are only saying it because they're getting a really fat paycheck. And so that's why I say to guys, like, they're really, I would have made a calculated guess that the Exalt 35 was going to be the bow for me, and it wasn't. So what guys are buying bows based on their friend's opinion, and it's just not the bow for them. And they could have been the next Salt Lick or Outdoors of Travis or Bow Disciples or Cameron Haynes, but because of a shitty experience based on friends' opinions, they probably never gelled with the bow, couldn't shoot 30 yards good, and destroyed a future that we might never know of because it doesn't exist. But I really think guys need to get out there, try stuff, test stuff, feel it for themselves, and then purchase it. I don't think there's a bow that I'd tell a guy to buy, to be honest. I'm just
All
not
right.
like that. I'm not built like that.
So you've got your hunter. Maybe not the archer like you are, or like a Staffen would be. Maybe somebody like you and I. How many bows should we go shoot before we purchase one?
3 to 4 flagships. If you're willing to spend $2,500 to $3,000 fully kitted bow, 3 to 4. And
so
shoot like, and then also understanding axle to axle. So this year, my shop gave me a 29 by choice. They said, like, choose. And I thought, like, I've never shot really short axle to axle bows. I'm always shooting 32, 33, 34. So let me give this a go, because that's going to be a true testament to the bow, because everyone says that a short axle to axle is not as stable. Well, I took my furthest shot in my career at 99 yards with a Hoyt AX2 29-inch axle to axle. So clearly that's not the issue. The issue is people don't shoot enough. But yeah, where were we going with this? What did you ask?
Yeah, how many bows to shoot?
Yeah, three. I would say 3 to 4 flagship, kitted up properly, and preferably not with whisker biscuits, because that adds to sound and a little bit of vibration. Like, I think any shop that has a flagship bow that they're trying to sell should have a drop away on it, so the guy gets the full experience. And then I'd say it's 3 to 4. Shoot them, see if you like them, see if you gel with them. Look at string angle. That's a big thing, especially a guy with me, big nose. I tend to have a peep and nose button very high compared to anyone else. No one can anchor on my bow. So all those things are very personal and can't be transferred by a product review or a suggestion. You can only get behind a bow and feel it.
Would you encourage or discourage people from around with those new carbon bows?
If you got the money, why not? What bothers me about it is the people that don't have money and they're taking out loans and they're taking out credit and they're taking out because their favorite influencer is saying they should get it. If you got the money, fantastic. Go have it. Go have the most expensive bows in the industry and love them and enjoy them, because they're going to kill just the same. But when you don't have the money, it bothers me quite a bit, because the aluminum bows are fantastic bows. I've got a good friend. His name's James. He runs a very fantastic holster company in South Africa. And he's a tiny dude, like tiny dude. And he's had motorbike accidents. So he's got pins everywhere. And so he genuinely bought a Levitate because he cannot hold the weight. So I think if you got the money, go for it. It's awesome. If you got injuries, I definitely would agree with it, because you can shave off 3-4 ounces at the end of the total bow bolt if you run no stabs. Fantastic. But if you're getting it by taking out a credit card or taking out a loan or something like that, there are fantastic bows that are just as good, if not better, for $1,000 less.
And then, so we're talking about a new setup for people. So from an arrow perspective, I shoot a micro shaft. You've got 5 millimeters. You've got conventionals. What's if somebody just getting out there regular hunting setup? Do you like? I personally like the micro shafts. That's just me. But what do you suggest to people?
I've been running 5 mil pretty much my whole archery career. And then before this hunting trip, I switched to gold tip kinetic pierces, the platinum version. And I love those. The penetration was insane. Everything I hit was a pass through. So they were fantastic, and all with mechanical, with a lighter arrow, which should have no less penetration than my last previous build. So I love them, but I think when it comes to cost wise, I think people, again, and this is something that I preach, and I don't talk enough about it on socials, but spend more time on the range than nitpicking on your gear. Because a projectile traveling 250 to 300 feet per second with a sharp, pointy thing on the end is going to kill whatever you hit in. But what's not going to kill is a shitty shot or a shitty archer. So the real thing you got to work on is the skill and not so much the gear. Because the bow and the arrow and the sharp thing on the front is more than capable. So that's just my opinion.
So you would say I get what I'm getting from it is it and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like it would be better for somebody that's not an established bow hunter to go with a we'll just throw this like a bare bow that's kitted out properly that he can shoot and spend a lot of time with rather than going in and dropping $3,000 from the start and buying the Matthews Phase 4 or whatever the their new one is, and then going and buying the new a dozen UV arrows that you're gonna send out into the bush anyway and lose half of them because you can't shoot for shit. Just keep it affordable and learn it. Shoot with it.
So, yeah, to conclude, and exactly what you said, but to add a bit more, if you have the money, go apeshit. Have fun playing with the most expensive things in the industry. But those UV arrows, I cannot understand because I've shot cheap arrows out to 100, and people are like, oh, 003s aren't straight and they're not going to be accurate and they don't spin nice. And then I'm like, dude, I'm doing 2-inch groups at 100. So I don't know what the you're talking about. You're clearly just not fletching right. You're not cutting right, or something's wrong with the way you're building them, because I actually don't even build my own arrows. There's a gentleman that's probably on minimum wage or just above minimum wage at Magnum Archery that sits and makes arrows every day. And he builds every batch that I have, and that's the arrows that I shoot out to 100. So without even being nitpicky on the cheap shit, I can still shoot accurately. So clearly it's not the gear thing. So those arrows I can't understand. The first expensive arrows that I've bought are these kinetic pierce, gold tip kinetic pierce platinums, which are like, let's call it $24 a shaft or $25 a shaft or something. That's how it converts in South Africa. But I've shot, Eastern 6.5 mils. I've shot the one brand lower than the Axis 5 mils. I've shot lots of cheap shit, and I've shot amazing shots with them. So here's what I would say: if you can afford it, go balls. If you can't afford it, I've done a video that expensive gear on a cheaper bow is just as good as a super expensive bow that you spend all your money on, but you can't really afford the good gear, the drop away rest, the good sight, and a good stabilizer setup. So, and then you also can't forget the tuning phase. If the bow shop isn't going to go deep enough to make sure that the timing is absolutely perfect, and make sure that your limb bolts are screwed into the same thing. If you're not going max to the riser, making sure that the limb bolts are screwed out at the same pace, so you don't have timing issues and energy delivery issues. Like if they go through that, and then you put a decent drop away that doesn't have to be expensive, like a trophy ridge, even you can go as cheap as possible on a drop away trophy ridge. Decent stabilizer setup so you can hold that thing as stable as possible, because a more affordable bow tends to be lighter. That's what I just find. A cheaper bow tends to be lighter than your flagship bows, especially in the aluminum market. And you want to get that weight there to add stability so the pin float isn't as aggressive. And then a decent sight, you can go a 5-pin like everyone runs. I just like slider sights because I tend to want to be able to push out. And 5-pins for me, under pressure, I don't want to be being like, oh, green is 20, red is 30, and then green is 40, and then I'm trying to guess. So 3 is enough clutter for me. But I think if a guy goes for like a $500 bow, which I've done with the PSE Stinger at 60 yards, 2-inch groups. So it's not the bows. So if a guy doesn't have the money, you can learn the skill. If you have the money, go ape shit. But the thing in South Africa that's different to you guys is every rand or dollar that I spend takes away from me being able to hunt, because I can hunt all year. So my mindset is get what you can afford so that you can actually go do the thing that you want to do, which is hunt. Instead of spending $5,000 on a setup and you're only going to hunt in 2 years because you're in freaking debt.
That's perfect. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think,
That's a long rant, but that's like my core belief.
it's so easy for people to go down those influencer rabbit holes too. I mean, how many fucking elevates you think JD Dudley sent, especially, the knock-on edition? How many did he fucking sell because he was pumping those bows back then, and people are buying these bows not having a fucking clue, but because they watch his videos, yeah, this is going to be great for me, when, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not the best thing for you.
That's exactly it, dude. That's exactly it. And so I think it would be great for me going down the road, especially because I'm in South Africa and I don't think brands value. My audience is 75% American, but because I'm in South Africa, brands just assume, like, oh, it's a small market and we can't benefit from it. And I think it's been a hidden gem for me because I've been able to stay, very objective. Subjective, objective.
Objective.
I've
Yeah.
lost the word in objective. I can really give a genuine review and tell people to spend their dollars or don't spend their dollars on a certain product. So yeah, I think, yeah, influencers. Number one thing is don't buy something based off an opinion of a guy that's paid to tell you something's amazing. Make sure it's vetted by someone that has no invested interest. If you're going to only go based on opinion, but guys like MFJJ that stock almost the entire lines of different factories. Go to those shops, those kinds of shops, and just test as much bows as possible. And what you'll find is what's crazy, you might even gel with a bow that's an intermediate level bow, not the flagship bow. And you might kill the most animals you've ever killed with that bow. You might have the greatest time shooting, and you shot the most accurate with that bow, and it wasn't even a flagship bow. So get out there, shoot, test, and make your own decisions, not influencer based decisions.
That's going to be one of the first reels I cut right there. One of the first shorts for sure. That was perfect. You hit that one spot on.
That's just my belief. And again, it's because I grew up in a house with no money, dude. I was washing cars at 13, to semi help my mom and have some kind of cash flow of my own. We lived in a little complex, like 200 units, and I built a car washing business and I funded myself and I set myself in courses. Didn't grow up with a dad. So I had no experience with guns or anything. So I was teaching myself through courses with firearms before I go to the military. And so I've always grown up with no money. So I really gravitate towards the guys that make bad buying decisions based on these influences, and it hurts them in the long run. When actually they could have just had a great experience from the get-go without breaking the bank or causing a divorce or taking out a second mortgage. Because that's where the bows are going. This China war tariff thing that you guys are going through, it's bows are going to get really expensive in the next 2 years.
Yeah, and you made some great points there too, and I think that's important to point out. I think we've all been guilty of that at one point in our life. Trusting somebody, that
Absolutely.
because they're they're getting a paycheck from this company, but because you follow them, oh well, it's got to be good if they're using it. No, somebody's just stroking a big check for them to talk about it. Like I said with the Garmin, I went down that Garmin hole. I think it was mostly advertised. I'm like, hey, I can see where this thing would be absolutely awesome. In 2 years, I regret spending that kind of money on that thing. What a wasted piece of shit that is. It's horrible. And the Burris apparently is no better. The people that I know that have the Burris say the same things. So I don't think it's any better that way. What are you do all these tips and deep dives and breakdowns of all this gear. And so what are some of the underrated pieces of gear hunters should be paying attention to?
For accuracy, I'm guessing that's what we all.
I'd say, and I was going to be more general. I was thinking more from, you're doing this survivalist and you're going out out here for days on end. So yeah, while your bow setup is important, is there something else that people are missing out on? What are they not thinking about when they're going to go do something like this and be in the outdoors?
I had a really special hunt that was completely stuffed up. It was a fallow deer hunt now this year, that one that I told you about earlier. My rangefinder got water in it. And then when the day got hot, it became vapor. And suddenly I could not range a single thing. And I tried to do a thing, when you when you teach self-defense with pistols and stuff, you teach the guys to keep both eyes open, and if they're running red dots, let the bifocal work, and situation awareness. So I started trying to do that, where I keep this eye open and I'm trying to like see the reticle of this, but also through this to see if I'm aiming at the same. It was just disastrous, and ended up shooting over a fallow deer that was really nice, and I ran up a mountain and around big boulders. And so I think, especially when you travel to hunt, if you can and have the money for a backup rangefinder, flip and do it, because I went on a bucket list hunt and it completely failed. But in that same lesson, since then, I've learned to judge up to 35 yards, so that I don't have to pick up a rangefinder for anything under 40, let's say. So my 3 pins, and I'm confident to guess it and shoot it. And then because I have a Foster arrow setup, because I've gone lighter, my chances when I get it wrong are the consequences are far less. On a 580 grain arrow, if I get it wrong by 3 yards, I'm missing. But if I get it wrong by 3 yards with a Foster arrow, it's a heart shot versus a top of the heart, bottom of the lungs. So one, if I can give you any gear advice, the thing that we as archers, especially walking and stalking, rely on the most is a rangefinder, and never think of it failing us until it failed me. And I realized, holy shit, I rely on this thing way too much. Like, how can I not shoot 40 yards without guessing it and having to rely on a rangefinder? So that's one. I think in a survival situation, if you really get stuck in the bush, deep in the bush, there's always ways. I always have enough hydration and know how to space that hydration, and how much water your body actually needs, and how much it loses throughout a day of activity, especially walking or hiking. So just understanding body biometrics or something like that, or biology, so that you know how to ration your water if you get out, and then something to make a fire. I've realized cold nights will kill a guy way faster. And again, from a calorie thing, you burn so many calories when your body starts dropping body temperature, because it's trying to warm up your body. And so you don't realize it, but you haven't walked 15 Ks, but your body's going to feel like it has, and you've burnt the same amount of calories. So I'd say just a flint and strike, and know how to work it, and enough water that if you get stuck for 3, 4, 5 days, you know how to ration it, and understanding how your body relies on it. And I'm weird. I'm a big dude. I don't know if you guys understand kilograms, but I'm at about 100 kilograms, and I could go about 15 to 20 Ks without water in a day before I absolutely need to start, doing some intake. So that spare trigger, or a trigger that can attach to your wrist, because that shit threw me as well. If my camera guy didn't bring a trigger so that he could shoot the new RX-9 that no one knew existed yet, I wouldn't have had a trigger to make a film with in the first place, that we flew to a destination to hunt. So either have a way to join it to your body so it cannot fall out of pockets or anything like that, or have a spare one if shit goes sideways. Again, if you can. And if you can't afford it, buy a super cheap one as your backup. That worst case scenario, you're confident up to 40 yards, and keep it in the backpack, and then carry your expensive premium, or the one that you absolutely love, and you spend a bit of more money on it. Carry that one, and if it gets lost, you're not completely screwed or out of a hunt. I'd say that a rangefinder failing me and losing my trigger was the biggest lessons, that we rely on things that could absolutely destroy the hunt. And we don't have backup plans because we think it's never going to happen to us.
Here's something that you may be able to talk to Americans about, because for whatever reason, people have a hard time with this shit, and I preach it all the time. Having a good pair of hunting boots. And the problem that, especially I see with Americans, that we put these groups together every year, right? We go to South Africa, and I like to go out with the new people, right? That have never been before, that have never hunted there, and spend time. And yeah, it's great. I can kind of relive that aha moment that I had the first time I was in South Africa, through them. But the thing I see most people making mistakes on is they bring these giant crispy boots and these hard sole every thing else, and it sounds like a herd of buffalo walking through the bush. So what I've learned, I've got 2 pair that I run. I run a Jim Green Ranger, and then I also run the new Wildebeest for different applications. But those 2 I like. They're
Wildebeest,
super
like the South African brand.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I buy all my boots there. So those are the 2 that are my go-to. But most people don't understand how, especially you're a spot and stalk with a bow. You're trying to get 30 or 40 yards. It's super important to be quiet. And you're bringing these giant fucking pack boots from the US that there's no way you can be quiet in those things. They're ridiculous.
That
And people think,
thumps when you make contact with the ground.
yes, and everybody, and once again, this is a whether it's an influence thing or whatever, you've got these influencers out here, they're hunting out west, and people say, "Oh, you're going to Africa, you got to buy the same shit as these guys over here, and you're buying this First Light set of brush pants, for example." And all you hear is this shh, 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 every time you're fucking walking. Like, no, guys, for fuck's sake. But talk about the importance of having good boots, good clothing that are quiet.
Dude, it's everything. It's everything. And on this last hunt, I was specifically going for bushbuck, which means thick, thick, thick forest. I'm literally walking riverbeds to try to get through the forest. And everything is working against you, and you are going to bump into them at 20 to 30 yards. You're not going to get a further shot. So sound is everything. But even in the African bush, if you're not walking in that thick stuff, we had such a good chat. A good friend of mine, I haven't gone on a friend hunt forever because it's become my job to make videos or to go on these hunts and give reviews and help farms develop better for international clients. And so it's become work. And so for the first time in like 3 years, I went on a friend trip with James, the guy that runs the holster company. And we said again that we give ourselves too much credit of why animals are spookish or skittish. It's not because we're in the bush. It's because everything wants to fucking kill them in the bush. So they're not twitching because a human stepped on a leaf. They're twitching because that leaf that just crunched could have been a leopard that's been stalking them for the last 100 yards. And suddenly that crunch has given them onto danger could be close by. And so we said, like, we've devised two ways of actually hunting walk and stalk. You either got to move in the bush with confidence and not care about noise, just like a non-predator does, which is crazy because it freaking works. Like, I got 15 yards to a red hartebeest by just charging. Just because it was like, it must be a kudu that's going through the trees, or it must be like an eland crunching through the bushes. And then when we got face to face, he was gone. And so you either have to be so quiet that they don't even know that you're there and the wind's in your favor, or you kind of have to walk exactly like a buck walks, because the only thing that stalks is a predator. And so we've been playing with that quite a bit, and it works quite nicely. But shoes is everything. The more rubbery and grippery and the more comfortable the shoe is, I find that the more loud it's going to be, because you have less control of impact on ground. I don't know how that works, and I can't explain the science behind it, but a wildebeest shoe, which is just a leather and a tiny little rubber sole, you can 1000% control how you land and how you twist and how it lands on a stick and how you land on a patch of dirt between leaves. And even when it makes contact on rocks and stuff like that, it doesn't make as much noise. And I find the big, beefy, hardcore boots with a lot of grip tend to do the complete opposite. Even on sand, they're still making a grinding noise, and they're pushing the sand chronicles or whatever they're called into spaces that they're not supposed to. And it just makes so much noise. So if I can make any advice to anyone, if you can go look at wildebeest or a shoe like Jim Green's or whatever, it's a basic sole with almost no grip. And unfortunately, they're not the most comfortable. I must be honest, my heels are dead at the end of the day, but I'm super quiet. But I have found a superpower boot, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but I found a hiking/hunting boot from Solomon's, and it was given to me by some American guys on a recent hunt about 8-9 weeks ago. And I walked and stalked for 10 days to test them out now to see if, like, the Fally, the leather shoe from South Africa, is the only way, or if you can find a comfortable way to be quiet. And dude, I got 30 yards to a bushbuck, and the only reason I couldn't shoot it was because of brush. He had no clue that I was there. And then wind switched, and he found out that there was a human right by him. So again, that, and then pants. Like, if you can hear your pants while you walk because your thighs brush together, they're loud. But where they're most loud is when you walk between grass. If you can hear your pants sliding on blades of grass, they are the wrong pants for walk and stalk in South Africa. It needs to be as quiet as possible. And I found a little hack. Not that I want to publicize it, but I filmed 3 guys from America hunt rhino. 1000% legal with nature conservation and SAPs, and all the people that make it completely legal to hunt rhino, not green dot, actually kill them. And I was walking with headphones because they were shooting huge calibers,
I've
500
got
nitros and 416 Rigby's, 416 Rigby's, and then the 375. So that was the three calibers. And holy shit, that I realized what animals actually hear, because their hearing is so sensitive. And so walking with, proper like shooting range earmuffs with electronic microphones and all that kind of stuff, I could actually hear my feet making impact and grass sliding against my pants. And if I can give anyone any kind of advice, compare 3, 4, 5 different pants with electronic earmuffs for the shooting range on, and then pick the one that made the least sound, because that is what animals are actually hearing. And so I just thought that was such a cool. I thought I was like super stealthy, and I thought I was incredibly quiet in the bush. And I put these things on, and I can hear like my heel slowly touching the ground, and a leaf crunching, and sand parting ways while my foot, the full weight of my body makes impact with the ground. So yeah, it was just a very interesting realization of how much noise we make, even if we think we're quiet. So if you're not wearing those electronic muffs and you can hear your pants, you can guarantee that it is just far too loud for walk and stalk, spots and stalk in the African bush.
That's exactly how it happened to me too. It was several years ago now, filming and wearing a headset so you can monitor the different microphones at the same time. That's where my come to Jesus moment was. And I was running a pair of pretty light Under Armour style boots, which I like for the States. They work pretty good. I didn't realize how fucking loud I was. Like I can hear every step that I'm making, every thorn tree that I rub up against. I'm just on and on and on. And that was what kind of turned it on to me. That's when the light came on, like, oh shit, I got to do something different. So I actually started talking and asking questions to the PHs and the outfitters and what are you guys running or what are good? And then that's, kind of made that transition over to not the, and I don't want to throw shit at any of the brands, there's Sitka, there's First Light, there's Kuiu, they all make good shit. But what I found that works the best is like a cheaper Kuiu attack pant, for example. Not their high end shit, but they just don't make any fucking noise.
Combat pants.
Yeah.
Combat pants.
Yeah. BDU pants, old school. Yeah.
It just works. And you know what I find is Kuiu, they all make, and First Light and all of them make great stuff. But I don't think it's made to walk through thick stuff and bushes constantly rubbing up against you and all those. And you can kind of see it in the African bush. Kuiu doesn't last as long as some of the South African brands in the African bush, because we have what we call wachebikkies, wait a bit. It's those thorn trees with the reversed thorns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it just hooks on everything and pulls on it. I had one hook my eyelid the other day. I was literally marching through and I got stopped like a fish on a hook, just like caught there, and like to get it off was horrendous. But we have some real thick stuff that's always brushing up against you. If it's not that, then it's just grass. That's hip height. That's always brushing up against you. And so, dude, it's so crazy that we had the same realization through the same tool with
that's
headsets.
Exactly. And like I said, I went down that rabbit hole and I tried different things, and I ran the Jim Greens for a couple of years. And you're right, they're not comfortable at all. The one thing I'll give them is there's like zero break in though. When you put a pair of those on, they're broken right.
You're not going to get blisters.
No.
Hack for blisters. I need to give you guys a hack for blisters. You want to buy running socks. So everyone runs wool, but wool still creates friction. Once you've sweated a bit and that kind of stuff, it moves inside the shoe. But I found recently running socks, because my wife and I are doing quite a bit of running, and they almost designed for zero friction. And the only reason you kind of develop blisters in the first place is the movement between your sock, your skin, and the shoe. And so if you can alleviate one of the movements, which is the sock, the middleman, just for the guys that are struggling with blisters, running socks. They're like tight, zero friction. That's what I actually hunted. It sounds disgusting, but hunters will understand. I wore one pair of socks for 10 days straight just because I didn't want blisters on this last hunt.
Yeah, it works.
Understandable.
Yeah. And I'm similar. I don't wear running socks. I wear compression socks. Very thin, but super tight.
Yeah.
They don't slide. They don't move. And then I see a lot of people that wear slip-ons now too. They like, Wildebeest makes some. I think maybe even Jim Green does. A lot of people are going to. The problem I have with them, my foot moves too much in those boots. And if I can't feel the ground and make contact, know exactly where it is, it's going to be loud. And then just the up and down from your foot in there. So I like to, like with the Jim Greens, I like to lace them up tight, make sure they're good and snug. You don't have any foot movement. And the same thing with the Wildebeest. But But yeah, and you're right. That's how I learned kind of the hard way. And then by asking questions, right? Those are just some things that for whatever reason, Americans coming over, it's not, people don't think about that shit. And the weird thing is if people are coming over, especially for a first time on a hunt, everybody thinks they have to gear up and buy all this expensive shit to come to South Africa and hunt. That's not fucking true. Use what you already have.
And all of
99% of the time.
us, yeah, 100%, it's going to work. Your PHs wear some of the cheapest stuff you can, and they take clients over and over and over to kill shot distances on animals. So you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on clothing.
What is it? Is it Johnson brand? The Johnson.
Yeah, I wear Johnson cargo pants,
Yeah.
and most of your PHs wear Johnson's button-up shirts as well, and that's what they wear.
Yeah, and you can go and like I found, I mean, Safari Outdoors is a little expensive, but shit, you can go there, you can buy them in lots of different stores. But it's like I tell people the shit that you already have. Now, if you don't have you don't have to, especially if you're hunting in the Eastern Cape, you're in June, July, right? It's going to get cold there, but you don't need to bring these giant fucking puffy jackets with you because all they're going to do is hang on every fucking thing in there. And if you're spot and stalking, your body's going to regulate that temperature more, and all you're going to end up doing is sweating your ass off if you bring those things. I'd rather be cold be cold. Yeah, exactly. Layer up, do it the right way. But those are just some things.
No, you're going to delayer. If you, especially in our climate, we don't get as cold as you guys. I was in Montana; it was minus 24 degrees Celsius. Like our cold is maybe -1 at night when you're sleeping at about 1 in the morning. Otherwise, our cold is 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which is like your guys 45, 47. So it's not that cold. And then all you got to do is get a bit active, which is a bit of a walk or something, and you don't even actually feel it. So yeah, guys bring your guys' winter gear this side, and it's complete overkill. I even took too much because I hadn't hunted Eastern Cape in the winter, and I ended up taking like 3 jackets too many that I never even wore or touched.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I could recommend one thing to people, obviously bring the right shit, but don't bring too much either because everybody always brings too much shit.
I did.
And if you got stuff, why not allocate that $1,000 to another Impala or Blessbuck? I'm just a hoe for hunting more animals, and so if you've got stuff that works, put the money where the joy is, which is being in the bush.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of look what your PHs are doing in your outfitters. If they're wearing this shit every day and it works, and now I do hunt with people because we do get now full disclosure, we do get a very good discount from Kuyu on the outfitter program that we're on. And I really like their shit, but the shit they make for, like super thorny environments and stuff like that, it works. Those clothes don't rip and tear, but they're so fucking loud you can't wear them on a spot and stalk. You can't. If your goal is to get within 600 yards of a zebra, no problem. Anything can do that. You can wear a fucking trash bag and it'll work. Nobody gives a shit. But if you're trying to get 30, 40, 50 yards, that shit ain't going to cut it. You can't do that shit. And people don't think that. They go out and buy all this shit, and then after their first trip over, they're like, well, that was fucking waste. And then what are you going to do with it now? Because you just spent $400 US on a single pair of pants.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it sounds like a parachute going through a pine forest. It's just, it's ridiculous.
So,
it's
and
ridiculous.
I know this
sometimes money doesn't buy the best.
Well,
it's scenario based.
Well, no, and I think that goes back to the influencer thing and how good these companies are at marketing now, right? They're all fantastic at it. It's I've got the best for this, I've got the best for that. I look at what the people in the field are doing. Like if you go with a guide in Montana, look at what they're wearing. That shit works because they have to do it every day. If you're hunting in Limpopo, look at what those PHs are wearing because they do it every fucking day. If you're down in the Eastern Cape or you're down in the crew, look at what those guys are wearing. That's what you should be wearing. It works. It's proven. Look at their boots. Look at their gloves. Look at their hats. Look at their jackets. That's the shit that works because they use it every day. And their shit has to hold up. It can't make it through one hunt. They may have 10 sets of clients back to back to back to back to back without a fucking day off. It's got to hold up and work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
great point. Actually,
rather than watching something on TV. But yeah, man, we've already been nearly 2 hours at this already. Time flies when we're having fun. But all right,
and
one thing. Yeah, thanks. I had to bring that up. Yay! So listen, one thing I've known, Travis, you're really active in the comments, right? On your social media, YouTube, everything. So how do you think? So your interactions with your audience, how do you think that's helped shape your social media and the direction of your channel?
So again, I feel quite bad because the last couple of weeks I've let it down, just focusing on sheer scaling my business so I can keep this sustainable. But Gary Vee says it very well. If you have the audacity to think people should give their time to you by consuming your content and not engage with them when they take the further time to hop on a comment and type their thoughts or type their thanks or type their appreciation or whatever it is, like you don't deserve, he says, like you don't deserve the success that you are getting or future success or something along those lines. And it just resonated with me. And I just feel like I'm small and I've got a lot of traction from very little work. And so it's just the right thing to do if a dude's taken the time to give me praise, thanks, appreciation, to show him that I reciprocate the feeling that he's taken the time to watch my video and then further along share some love. Now, Gary Vee also says, and I really love Gary Vee, as you'll tell when I talk now, but I don't allow comments to fuel anything, not the fire or put out the fire. Because I think if you open the door for the positive comments to affect your feelings, it's the exact same door for the negative comments to affect you as well. And so I take them purely as almost all my replies are, I really appreciate the time you spent on this video, watching it, and then taking the further time to comment on this. And if it's a question, I'll answer it. And the negative stuff gets absolutely nothing from me. Now, I've had to learn the hard way. I had a giraffe hunt video on my channel where I took a friend with a rifle and it was just hate because the channel had no traction. So it attracted the wrong audience. And dude, Travis 2022 was ruthless. He I kicked back at every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I think it was like 400 comments. And I just slammed from personal stuff to facts. I just went after all of them. And I just realized if I'm going to do this on a long-term basis, that's going to suck the joy from it. So why even? And again, Gary Vee says, but actually not Bedros Killigan or something like that. I don't know if you know him. Big
Sounds
motivational
super
speaker.
familiar. Yeah.
Betros Kulligan, I think he says. And he always describes these people that are keyboard warriors as a guy with a pot belly, Cheeto dust in his belly button in his mom's basement.
In his mom's basement.
And even if that's not even if that's not their reality, they are losing somewhere in life if they need to project negativity on a comment to a dude he's never met and has no affiliation with. He's got nothing going on in his life. His wife probably doesn't love him. His kids don't look up to him anymore. He gave up on his dream 5 to 10 years ago. And the only thing he has is to spread his opinion on a fucking comment halfway across the world because 75% of my audience is American. And so looking at a guy like that through that lens, it's allowed me to focus on the guys that give me love and project love back and completely not even affect my mood with the negative comments. And I just look at myself, even when I see something I disagree with, nothing in me wants to spend time trying to justify my view. I'm just like, crack on, not my job to change you. And I just try and stick with the audience that supports me and clearly has similar views and not even bother with the ones that don't. And so, yeah, I think when you're small enough, you guys are 117,000 subscribers. So if you get 600 comments on one video, it's not very realistic to reply to every single one. But when you're someone as small as me and maybe 40, 50, 60 comments on a video and I got a night off, for me, it's the right thing to do to take the exact amount of time they took out of hundreds of thousands of influencers and videos they could have watched. They watched mine and projected love to just reciprocate that while I can.
I get where you're coming from. I think you just made the comment about, you get 600 comments and it's hard to respond to all of them. I'm that guy that stays up till 4:00 in the morning responding to every single comment because I feel the same way you do. If they took the time, to reach out, I'm going to first thank them, and try to do it in a positive way. But, I think to have that interaction in that community, they're going to, if there's a meaningful, whether, good, bad, and different, you don't have to agree with the people either. That's the thing. You don't have to kiss their ass and agree with them. But if you're polite about it, it goes a long way. And then, I'm probably more like Travis 2022 than the current Travis. I have zero filter when it comes to bullshit. My biggest thing is, especially in the industry, you get these people that always want to tell everybody else how to do it and what you must buy and how you must book and who you must book with. Like some of these fucking people, especially when it comes to Africa, they've been one fucking time. They've been on a 7-day hunt in Limpopo, but now they're the fucking experts of
Experts.
Africa. Right. They know everything, and you have to trust them, and you have to use this outfitter, and you have to book with this airline, and you have to stay at this. What makes you an expert? One fucking trip? I've spent months in country in one fucking year alone, and I do it every single year. But so when those kind of comments piss me off, and those groups that do that shit, and they're not being transparent with people either. So that's the problem with a lot of those Facebook groups that are out there. What you don't see front and center is these guys are acting as booking agents, right? And they're getting kickbacks on and commissions on taxidermy and kickbacks from the outfitter and everything. And I get it. That's how the system works in South Africa. It's part of everybody's value chain. But be fucking transparent about it. If you're recommending an outfitter because you get a kickback, fucking tell him that. Hey, I had a good time and he gives me a commission if I send somebody to him. But lying about it or purposely hiding that fact, that pisses me off. And those are the same people that are on there recommending where people should go. And, oh, you got to hunt with him because he's the best dangerous game in the world. And I had a great, you've hunted one fucking dangerous game animal in your life. And there's one admin specifically that hunted a fucking 3-legged lion in a goddamn pen. And now he's the second coming of Jesus H. Christ when it comes to dangerous game. Like, why in the fuck? Or the guy that's on there telling you what you got to do and how you got to get there. And look at his profile pictures. How many fucking hunts does he have on there? The answer is 0. None. Not a single animal on there, and like 40 friends. Like, this guy is not qualified to teach people shit. So I do go down those rabbit holes with people and I push back. And I think it definitely drives viewership. It goes a lot further if you're nice, but sometimes you can't be nice to people. But I won't block people either. That's the other thing. I'll stir the fucking pot. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So look, I do enjoy a bit of conflict. It's a lot of fun. But just recently, it just sucks my time. But I think what you're doing is a bit different. You're not looking at a piece of content and being like, fuck you, your arrow rate's wrong, or you're like, dude, it's a sacred thing. Yeah, in South Africa, how much freedom we have to hunt. It's even you guys as foreigners. If you just bring bows, you could literally just hunt almost anything that you want.
Yeah.
There's very few animals that need permits. So I think what you're doing is saying you're almost protecting something that's pretty sacred out here. And when guys are ruining it or giving wrong advice to it, to an international market, I think you're calling them out, which is slightly different to a dude that has shit to tell me about the way I shot a bow in a video. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's not even close. Well, listen, we've been at this for a while, so I want to close on one thing. And then we're definitely going to have to do this again because that 2 hours flew by like nothing. So my final question.
What state are you guys in?
Florida.
Okay. Because I'm in Utah for a month with Ty Jordan in August, but I'm guessing that's going to be quite far.
It's a good drive. You can fly here, but it's a 30, 40 hour drive, something like that. It's probably closer to 30. I'm going to say about 30 hours to drive there. But
I figured it was far because of the time difference, even between Utah and you guys.
Yeah. And you won't like Florida in August either. So that's the dog days of summer for us. So here we're at 100% humidity, 110% humidity almost year round. And then when it's also 105 degrees Fahrenheit on top of that, it's fucking miserable. So people that aren't from here and that aren't used to it, I'll go to, Namibia or Botswana or Mozambique. Oh, you're going to die there. It's too fucking hot, this and that. I'm like, motherfucker,
it's a breeze for you.
I live in a tropical environment where it's hot year round. Like, this is our winter time. I don't think we had any winter this year. We haven't had a frost in years.
Like one day.
Yeah. Well, it was enough to put like a light jacket on, but go down a rabbit hole. But okay.
That explains why you guys have such a thriving population of reptiles.
Yep. That's exactly why.
Oh, you want to come shoot?
I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, I finally, after all these years, I finally got drawn for alligator tags.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, I got to, and Jenny has too, and so I can go hunt alligator now.
Gator nuggets.
Yeah, finally. I've been years. Supposedly, there's like a 80% or 90% success rate for resident hunters in the state of Florida to get almost guaranteed to draw tags. I've been at it for like 10 years, and I finally got tags.
Yeah, it's also really easy. You put one leg in the water and sit at full draw.
Oh, you can do it that way. You can do it that way. But we have a huge gator population. I mean, it's stupid.
It's like a million two.
Yeah, you're never going to run out of gators,
Yeah.
and we also have lots of black bear too that people don't like to talk about.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But all right. So let's end on this. I'll
Let's wrap it
let
up.
you have one, and then so let me go first. So if you're going to give somebody out there, some young kid watches your shows and watches this podcast and say, "Hey, man, I want to give this a go. I think YouTube is a place for me." What advice would you give somebody just starting out?
I love this because everyone talks bow hunting, but I'm a big business guy and I'm a big content creator. That's what my whole business is. So I love this question. I would say one, start off documenting what you love because it's going to be a hell of a journey. And if you do it just for views, it's just too superficial to keep it going long enough before it becomes successful. So find something that you love that is a niche that you can double down in. And then in the word niche, find a niche. If you do a channel about everything, you would think that doing something about everything is going to reach everyone, but you actually end up meeting no one down the journey. And something as small as bow hunting is big enough to make a giant life out of. So niche down. What are you good at? What do you enjoy? What do you love? And how can you bring the message to your audience or a potential audience? And then two, find people in that niche that are doing it already. And how do they deliver their message and what are the topics they talk about and all that kind of stuff? And realize that even if you made the exact same video, you would have an audience because this is one giant pizza with thousands of pizza slices, and you are not yet to beat the other people. You're just yet to claim your little slice. And a tiny slice goes a long way on YouTube. Then I would say get really good at understanding that YouTube is a multifaceted business. You are not just making videos. You're not just good at bow hunting. You're not just good at your niche. You're a graphic designer when you're doing thumbnails. You're a researcher within your niche, understanding what does well and what converts on other channels so you can bring it to your own. Just understanding that it's a real long journey. And I said also in business, if you need something to succeed fast, you're doing it wrong. You should really understand that this is going to be a journey. It's going to be growth. It's going to be, it's going to be a real awesome experience, but understanding that I don't think YouTube itself, I think you guys can agree as well, YouTube itself doesn't make the money. It's the networking abilities, the doors that it opens, the almost proof of concept that it delivers. When people meet me, and this is what I'm going to say to people now, and I do this for business owners I run a media marketing agency through content creation and brand strategy. And I advise everyone to go into social media and YouTube, all the business owners that are semi-professional on a camera, because you've suddenly taken relationship building out of the conversation because they've built that relationship by watching your content. So when you guys hopped on now, we can say to the audience, me and you have never had a conversation over the cell phone or over WhatsApp or till today. But we spoke like we know each other because we have both put out enough content to give context of what kind of guys we are. And so when you bring that to YouTube, I really also want to recommend not faking it because faking it only lasts so long. And either you're going to expose yourself, which some influencers have done over the years, or you're going to burn out because you're trying to keep up a facade. So if you swear a lot, which I do, and the only thing that I don't do on my channel that's not completely me is I don't swear a lot. But because I want to try and make sure that when moms and dads let people watch me, the kids watch me, that they will let me watch me, or let them watch me, but be as authentically yourself as possible, because if you're going to do this, it's going to be a long journey and you can't keep up a facade for very long. And you are going to be called out. And if you are called out years down the line, it fucks up all the progress you've made. Like the likes of Liver King lying about steroids and the steady decline since it's come out. So be authentically yourself. And I think understanding that every single human is flawed and leaning into those flaws because people can relate to that more than being perfect is probably the best thing you can do. And we see a shift in YouTube now going from these perfectly choreographed videos to documenting versus creating. So in other words, just put on the fucking camera, share your message, give some tips, talk about what you did on your bow today, talk about whatever niche you're in. But if you go into these huge productions, which is what I've struggled with, my wife completely grinds me all the time about this, but I burn out because I put way too much into production when the message is more valuable than the production itself. And so, last thing, and I know I keep going on rants, but I call it gas. Don't get gas. And so gas is gear acquisition syndrome. And it's a procrastination tool. And it's what it is I'll start YouTube when I get this microphone. I'll start YouTube when I get that camera. You know why my videos aren't doing so well? I just don't have the right laptop. And they constantly build this list of requirements before they start. And here's another one of my punchlines. You don't learn the thing before you do the thing. You learn the thing while doing the thing. And so you can never problem solve problems you have never faced. And you can't face problems without starting the journey. So begin today, begin sloppy, look shit, talk funny, break off script. Let it be bad backgrounds. Let the audio be shit. Let the camera. But 100 videos down the line, if you changed one thing every video, you're where you would want to be, where you fantasized you would be if you did all the research and start on day one, versus just starting on day one, putting 100 days in and being where you would actually be. So no amount of research is going to make you better in this job than actually doing the job. So yeah, you don't learn the thing while doing, you don't learn the thing before you do the thing. You learn the thing while doing the thing. And 90% of YouTubers will tell you they told you they were going to do YouTube for 3-4 years before they actually did it. And I don't know where I would be if I started YouTube when I said I was going to do it versus starting it only 2 years ago. So that's my piece of advice. Gear acquisition syndrome, gas. Don't be bothered by the shit that's superficial. A cell phone nowadays, I mean, this is my B camera. I don't even run a B camera anymore. Cell phone nowadays is good enough. The audio is great. Get Adobe for $11. Hop onto Adobe Podcast and crispen your audio even more. Basic audio to even better audio. Cut out background noises and the dog barking in the background and shit. And that's all you need. And then when there's a proof of concept in the line and brands start reaching out, or you reach out to brands, or you find your niche and you find your people, maybe start reinvesting in it to polish up and start outshining other people in your niche. But right out the gate, your job isn't to outshine. It's to get a proof of concept. So, and you only learn a proof of concept by doing the thing. That's my rant.
Absolutely. That you it was perfect. I couldn't have scripted that. And I want to back that up because one thing people ask me all the time, and they go down that gear rabbit hole, right? Everybody does it. And I think a lot of people are guilty of it. I'm sure I was guilty of it too. My advice to somebody is they ask about camera gear all the time. What camera should I buy? What's the best camera? The answer is the camera that you already own. This one right here. That's the one. Don't go buy a new camera. Start with this. And like you said, focus on the other things. Start working on presentation, fix your audio, clean the shit up. You don't have to go buy all this expensive gear. That will come over time and you'll learn the business first and you'll learn how to edit and you'll learn how to sound design and you'll learn how to light a studio and you'll learn all of that shit, but start somewhere. The second piece of advice that I always give people, and it's a quote from Warren Buffett, overnight success takes 3 years. Point being, there is no fucking such thing as overnight success. So if you're not willing to at least give this thing 3 years worth of everything you've got, then don't fucking do it. Just don't, because you're not going to be successful. Those one and dones that popped off with one video, it's a fraction of a percent, and it just doesn't happen. So those are my two takeaways. Like I said, you said it best to begin with, but those are the two things that I always like to tell people. But what do you got, Oscar, so we can get Travis out of here?
For that one, I would go like, just don't chase like the views and everything like that. Like I watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of hunting videos, and I enjoy a video that's got 1 million views just as much as I enjoy a video with 200 views on there. Like I just like, and I think like a lot of hunters, I just like looking at hunting videos. You know, like I just like learning from a channel with 2.5 million or the, Oliver and those guys on there that I think they just broke 1,000 followers. And I was watching them when they were like 200-300. And I love watching their videos.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
And for someone that's early on their journey, I'd say social media as a whole, including YouTube, is slowly gravitating away from subscribers and followers being a factor in your success. So that's no longer the indicator. Your content is the proof of concept. And so YouTube, and the way it works now is Like the most crucial views you can ever get is the first 100, 500, 1,000, 1,500, because it's YouTube feeding your video to a pool of people, test market. Okay, 50% like them. That's a good ratio. We're going to send it to a net of 500. We're going to send it net to 1,000. And so if you understand YouTube like that, it's not about your subscribers. It's about, is your video actually good? And one piece of gear I want to advise people to buy if they're going to ever spend money, and I advise clients that decide that I'm too expensive to hire me to handle their marketing and stuff. The one piece of thing that studies show that is the most important is audio. Because if the message you're trying to deliver is of value, but your audio is shit, no one's listening to it, but everyone can brave a half decent video. So if you're going to spend any money, get a microphone and then use your cell phone as the filming tool if you're going to do anything, because audio is the most important thing. I can't tell you, I'm actually going to a company now this week that has a social media manager, a youngster that's all hip on, that thinks they're hip on social media. And they're posting videos and the person sounds like the mic is up their ass. And it's just because it's shit quality. And it's like, are you posting to check a box, which is another rant that I can go on, but I'm not going to. Are you posting to check a box, or are you posting things that you are passionate about? And so, and if you're posting to check a box, you would normally not care about things. But if you're posting because you're passionate and you want your message to be heard, audio first, everything else secondary.
Yeah, and I think that comes with time too, especially, when the first shit for our audio sucked for years, right? When we first started, like it was more about, hey, did we get the shot? Did we get the high five? We got the recovery kind of thing. And then I started actually listening and rewatching the shit, years later. I'm like, oh my God, that was horrible. Like, I can't imagine somebody sitting there through 20 minutes of that and the audio is crap. All you hear is wind in the background and everything's muffled, or and even when we did, start using lapel mics, it's inside a jacket and all you hear is the whole time, and trying to cut that shit out. And then you're trying to overlay music over it. And, so it's not as bad. So yeah, that's a great point. And those things aren't expensive either. You can go pick up a decent set of mics and I know they're a little bit on the expensive side, but I really like DJI products. So I run the DJI Mic 2s, I believe, and I've got like several sets of them. They have this cool built-in function of noise cancellation already in it. So I'm doing
32-bit float noise cancellation.
It's so good. You hit the power button the second time after it's on, and it's like clean. I mean, it's almost as good as Adobe Podcast, putting it in there and cleaning it up right from go.
Yeah.
And then other software too.
Agreed.
And I know we're going down this whole. You don't have to go out and spend $10,000 on a piece of software to edit. There are several pieces of software out there. You could do it on CapCut if you wanted to. One of the softwares that I recommend to people
100%.
that's totally free, go get DaVinci Resolve. It's free. You get no subscription, no anything. Now, that's not the whole studio, but you don't need the whole studio. 9 times out of 10.
You just need to split.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you just need to have separate timelines for audio and video so you can edit them separately and split. Right in the beginning, that is the only thing you should be doing, because the thing you should be focusing on most is getting comfortable behind the camera and being able to talk and get your points across easily, and less ums and likes and and all that kind of stuff. So editing software right in the beginning, I agree with you. I started on iMovie on the cell phone, on Apple. So when I was doing my transition, I was in a gun shop for a bit doing training. And so everything was on my cell phone. And I know for a fact in the beginning of your journey, the only thing you need to do is split. Cut the dead spaces out, put it together, export.
And
There's
a jump
nothing
cut
else
works.
you need to do.
It's a great cut.
I only do jump cuts. There's not a single other. There's not a single and J cut where maybe audio.
I was going to say I use lots of J cuts now where I didn't used to.
But dude, there's no fancy transitions. There's no swipes. I'm not doing any of that.
No speed ramping. No, none of that shit.
Yeah, like it's cool. And if I'm going to, so I don't know if you saw a video that I did recently for James and Bowtech when he shot that red hartebeest. And then I added all the sound effects, like the bird flute part. And it was like, and then the arrow pulls back. And so like, then cool. That's where sound design comes in, but that's what we're talking about. If you're starting a YouTube channel and you got a message to go across, it is so easy how we get, planning to do the thing isn't doing the thing, scripting the video isn't making the video, talking about it, projecting goals, just fucking do it. That's my advice. And you'll be blown away. Be blown away. Like A year in, Magnum Archery said, come do your YouTube channel through us. We'll give you the bows and stuff and have fun. And then 5 months later, I want to tell you guys a story, and we're going to wrap it up on this.
Yep.
This is what YouTube can do for your life if you just get out of your own way. I'm at a May 3, and I haven't spoken about this on a podcast, and I'd love one day to be on Cameron Haynes' podcast to talk about this. But we're going to get deep here, and then we're wrapping it up. Yeah, this is the message I want to leave for people. I'm working at a job that I just absolutely fucking hate. 1,600 employees. I started from the ground up with only 700 clients at that business. And I started as a sales rep, the only sales rep, and built a sales team over 5 years, became head of sales and brand strategy, and we grew in 5 years. It took them 8 years to get 700 clients. And in my 5 years, we scaled to 12,000. So clearly we were doing something right. And I was passionate about this business, but the leaders and the managers they were bringing in and the mergers they did with other businesses that they bought, it brought a real horrible culture. And so that's what actually got me to be like, I need a change. And I'm not going back into another company that's just like this with a different name. And so that's when I said, I'm going to start YouTube. So YouTube's running. I took it only seriously from the beginning of last year. End of the previous year, December was when I posted the video / beginning of last year. And when I took it seriously, only 6 months. So I want to remind you guys, 2024 Jan, Travis hits 1,000 subscribers. So I'm fucking nobody. If we know the YouTube landscape, that's nothing. It's a milestone so you can get monetized. It means nothing. February, Magnum Archery gives me a shot saying, listen, I know you're working a full-time job, but on weekends, come do your videos. Yeah, we'll give you the bows, the arrows, no problem. 5 months later, they come to me and say, listen, why don't you just do this full-time out of our shop? And suddenly I get offered a job paying the same salary as the job that I absolutely hate, but now in a bow shop to handle their marketing and run my YouTube channel. I'm getting paid to run my YouTube channel. And because my confidence was so shot for such a long time, because I'm at a company that says you're replaceable, you ain't worth shit, we'll find 5 of you tomorrow. That's the message they drive. Staff turnover 250 people in 30 positions over 18 months. Something's wrong. And so my confidence is broken, but the owner of Magnum, Seppi, keeps saying, like, this is a stepping stone. You're not going to be here for long. This is a stepping stone. November last year, I launched my own company straight into a 6-figure business within 1 month. And now, because of my YouTube channel, I'm running that business. So I don't think people should look at YouTube as the thing that's going to get them out of it. But YouTube will be the door that opens many doors down the road and gives you a multiple choice of opportunities down the road if you just take it seriously for a little while. That's my closing message. If YouTube is what you want to do.
I couldn't have closed out the video
awesome.
that good. I normally have a monologue or something that I do, but shit, Travis, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. And the passion that's behind there, I mean, people can see that it's absolutely legitimate. And I think that's one of the reasons your channels and your socials are taking off, because, you practice what you preach and it's sincere. And I think people can see that too. And if you like what you're doing too, that's the other thing. If you like what you're doing.
And if people can just treat other people, sorry, one last thing.
Yeah.
We are not competing. No one here is competing. There's just so many people in the world, especially on the digital landscape and social media. None of us are competing. So the day you stop looking at everyone as a threat and start looking at them as your allies as well, I mean, it will just hugely open up doors. And so what I wanted to say is I want to just preach love and encourage people. And I want people to do better than me. I mean, if a guy opens up a YouTube channel tomorrow in South Africa and does the exact same thing that I'm doing, I'm fucking rooting for him. And so if everyone can develop that mindset of genuinely wanting other people to win, I promise you that is actually the quickest way to winning yourself.
Absolutely.
100%. Well, folks, with that said, Travis, man, that was awesome, buddy. All right, so folks, so until next time, this has been Travis Sloan with Outdoors with Travis. We will link all of your social media down in the description. Thanks a bunch for coming.
Thanks, gents.
Thanks for teaching us a little about bow hunting that we certainly didn't know. We're not nearly the professional that you are. And to the rest of the folks out there, until next time, live free, hunt hard, keep chasing the adventure.